Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I am your host, Dylan Muss, and I have with me the full house of Geekverse right now. The Pablos. I got the Predictor, Taylor Field. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. The Pablos. I
Never
totally
forget.
forgot about that.
Master Cheeks.
Master Cheeks. Then I got the Survivor over here, Kirkland Patzer. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's fun to have the three of us here. We're going to be doing some Game Awards predictions. Of course, that's happening on December 12th, so we're going to make predictions for all the categories, see who the winners are. We're talking about maybe a little bit of the announcements we hope to see, and then we're going to enlist our good friend, Mr. ChatGPT, to give us some interesting game announcement predictions. We'll see how wacky those end up being, if at all. We'll see what we get. And then before that, we're just talking about some of the games we have been playing. So yeah, some good time. Just a couple quick shout-outs here. Patreon. Yeah, episodes early and ad-free. It's the best place to go to support the show. It's the best place to go to get the best version of the episodes because then you don't have to listen to advertisements. No one likes any of that. You'd also get a bonus episode of Sidequest up there right now where I did a kind of rerun of my 2023 Game of the Year, and then that's going to go up on the main feeds this Saturday. So if you want to listen to it early, you can. Also, this episode, we're recording it a day early, which means you get it a day early on Patreon. So always good benefits to go there. Next week is me and Taylor. We're going to be talking about Indiana Jones. Can you believe that comes out this week, Taylor? That kind of snuck up on me.
No, I have it pre-downloaded on my library, and when I see it there, it just reminds me like, oh my god, yeah, that's coming up already.
I saw there's 130 gigs. It's a spicy size. Is that how much your space it took on your hard drive?
Mine was like 200 megabytes, so obviously.
Oh, it's just one of those like placeholders.
Yeah.
I hope it's more than
So that's
200
stressful.
megabytes. That would be.
It's just
that
Call
would
of
be
Duty
pretty
creeping
bad.
over into other games. They gotta use
much.
other games.
It's only like 2 times the size of Potion Problem, pretty much. That would not be it. Other things, it's TV show city this month. We got Creature Commando, Skeleton Crew, Dexter, also maybe Secret Level. We might sneak something in there for that. I will at the very least talk about the Splunky episode. That's my only guarantee. That's my only guarantee here. And then next week, we have a bunch of reviews: Lord of the Rings, the movie, War of Rohirrim, and Craven. And yeah, we did a newscast last week. That was fun. It was a fun, good time. Everyone should go back, check that out. And after we're done recording that, Kirkland, you said that there's a potential game that you and your buddies were going to play over the weekend. Did you end up playing that game? And if so, how did that go?
I did end up playing that game. Lost a few of the buddies along the way. It ended up only being me and Patreon Tyler Hidalgo himself, but we still had a good time. I feel like it was a good like session zero for any like D&D players out there. They know like session zero is usually like you're setting up the rules and like setting up your character and like get an idea of how everything's gonna go. And that's kind of what the first session was for us because this game is like it's kind of like it's super.
Sorry, I don't think we said the name of the game.
Project
Yeah, what
Zomboid.
game is this?
Sorry. Yeah. I was trying to do a nice dramatic build up. I was getting too
Oh,
excited.
okay.
So yes, Project Zomboid. I think it's like probably like just the most like hyper realistic type of like zombie game you could do. But it's set up like a sandbox, and with sandbox games, like sometimes they come up with just like insane customizable options that you can have, which is great because you can really just make it as difficult or easy or whatever with the different sliders and whatnot. And I had like a template that I used for my own like single player experience, but it's very different in online because there's just so much more things to be doing with multiple people. And like, for example, like to get skill increases and stuff like that, you'll use like skill books a lot of the time. So your character will be reading, but in like single player mode, you can just fast forward. So you could like just power through a book, and it's like a whole day, obviously, in game time, but like you're just fast forwarding it. But you can't really do that in multiplayer. So I learned that you can actually like change like the amount of pages that are read like per hour. So you can really tweak it in that sense to just make it like that much more. And like there's great like references that people have made online because this is just a great like community supported game. Like I feel like the community for Project Zomboid is just so fantastic. Everybody just has their own little tips and tricks and stories, and yeah, like it's a really cool fan base I think around that game. And
Sorry, quick question. Is it like in talking about speeding up the time there when you're reading a book, is it just for like certain actions that happens, or is it kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon where you can like smash the fast forward button at any point in single player?
So yeah, there's no like time like manipulation in multiplayer. It's just simply like how long it takes your character to read a page.
Yeah.
So yeah, like but yeah, no, like that's just one little minor thing. Like another one was Project Zomboid. Like I feel like the whole point of it is to like have one run, like one character, and like it's a big deal. Obviously, like surviving's really difficult, but it makes it that much more rewarding because you only have one life and you can die in so many different ways. So when you make it a long time, like it is really satisfying. I will say though, in multiplayer, I think it's kind of a hinder, especially playing with like Tyler. That was his first time ever playing the game. Like he had never played Project Zomboid, so of course it led to just some hilarious interactions where him and I were like running away from zombies, and then all of a sudden he just drops dead, and he's like, "Oh, I'm dead. I don't know what happened." He was just like bleeding out the whole time without realizing that he has like there's these little moodles that basically show like your status effects,
Right.
and he had no idea. But there was like 7 just flashing red, because like you'll just bleed out unless you actually like bandage yourself, and surely enough that's what happened. And it was just so funny because it was so abrupt. He's like right behind me, we're running, and then he's just gone. And it's like, oh man, what happened? He's like, oh yeah, no, I'm dead. And then he has to make a new character, and you have like the character creation is kind of unique because you have to choose like negative and positive traits, so it takes a while.
I like that.
So like, you know, if you're doing an online server, especially with just like a couple buddies, like I highly recommend actually putting respawn on. It kind of takes away a little bit from like the realism factor, but just for like pure enjoyment. Because like there were just so many times where he has to make a different character and like customize everything. He's like, oh, I'm a repairman now. Like changes his occupation, whereas
Right.
he's just missing out on time while I'm in there adventuring. And by the end of the session, him and I both ended up dying. But there was just some really great moments because in that game, if you get bitten by a zombie, like you won't transform into a zombie right away, but like that's just a death sentence. Like there is no cure. You're gonna turn into a zombie at some point. And when he first was bitten, he's like, I don't know, I'm not changing. And I'm just like, no, man. Like you, like it was almost like a Walking Dead situation where he's like trying to hide his bite from
You
me.
don't trust the guy.
I'm like,
with it,
no, man.
I'm
Like,
fine.
yeah. So there were just some funny moments like that.
Can you like delay it once you're bitten? Can you like take antidotes to like at least
yeah,
delay
maybe.
it? Is that the point of not dying instantly?
Maybe, yeah. Like I
Like in single player,
most
do
of
you
the time, yeah,
can you
in
still
single player,
do things
if I
for a
get
while?
bitten, I'll just like go back to my safe house, load up on all my guns, and just like go on a shooting spree until I die. To just like
Go out with
go out with a bang. But like technically, if my character does die, I could just make a new character and then go back in that world and find my zombie
Oh, cool.
character and
Okay.
take all my stuff, which is cool. But like for me, I just make a new world
Yeah.
because I feel like the whole point is just like I don't want to take over someone else's base, even though it's
Mm-hmm.
my own. So, but yeah, with multiplayer, like now that I have it figured out, I like tweak the world a little bit to just make it, I think, just more enjoyable. And yeah, we're gonna have to book a session because my other buddies that I was telling you about, like they did get it, they just ended up getting busy. One of them's in the States, so he's got Thanksgiving plans over the weekend. But no, I'm very much looking forward to jumping in, especially now that we like kind of have a base idea. I'm hoping Tyler will be practicing a little bit to get some of the, I don't know, there's just a lot of things that you just kind of have to learn while you play, like just moving around zombies, like in the game, your base movement speed just walking is actually faster than the zombies, so you don't actually have to sprint away from them. You would think that's like, oh, that's kind of OP, but like the zombies are so OP. Like do not ever take on more than like 1 or 2 at a time, and then of course Tyler thinks he's a little bit cocky and takes on 2 or 3, and he's just getting mowed down. But no, it was really, really funny, and I feel like it's just a type of game that when you're playing with friends, like just comedic gold will be just spawning multiple times in the session. So I'm very much looking forward to jumping back in there. But no, that was very much like a session 0. And like we started at like midnight on Friday too. Like we were just exhausted, played for like an hour and a half. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm kind of tired here, so let's go. But yeah, no, looking forward to the next session for sure. And I see it's in your wish list, Dylan.
Yeah,
one
I mean,
of these days.
if you're, because is it max 4 players for like an online lobby?
Oh no, you could do like 32
okay.
plus. I think.
Yeah, let me know.
And then-
I would definitely join you and your
Hell
pals
yeah.
there, even though I don't know them. I mean, I guess I've met Tyler
You met
a little
Tyler,
bit.
I
but
think. Or,
yeah.
yeah.
riding
We're all
horseback
We're all
in
cool,
the,
chill guys. So
on the
yeah.
ranch. Yeah. No, I would definitely be down to join. Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
probably on sale right now because of like all the
That's why they picked
autumn
it up,
or
yeah.
winter sales and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely down to check that game out. It looks great. I love the
Absolutely.
art style, even though it's like kind of old and janky. It like
Yeah,
it's actually
I
I
do
just
too.
love it.
It reminds me of like old Flash games or something. I don't
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
like Newgrounds, just that website
Yeah.
in general. There's just something about it. It reminds me. But no, that's and then like since that session, like even before cast now, like I was playing a single player run just because I'm like so much more motivated to jump in there, and
Nice.
it's been really fun. I'm like basically in the process of moving like my old base into the country club. I'm like moving into this like big
Oh
base, but there's
yeah.
just so many zombies there, so I just have to like chip away at it, and it's just such a great game. I like it's especially for like the zombie genre. I just feel like it's perfect having like the hyper real, like you gotta like siphon other cars to fill up your car with gas, and like
Ooh.
there's just so many customizable things that you can do to your base and your character and vehicles and whatnot. It's pretty
Nice.
amazing. But
It's
yeah.
funny what you're saying about like reading the book, because I feel like that reminds me of Long Dark, which is also like a survival game where
yeah.
finding books is like a very rare thing. But it's like, oh hell yeah, I want to read this book about gun
Yeah.
skills because that's like the only way you can get better at that stat. But yeah, even though it's a single player game, it takes hours. And like since you're always just getting hungry or cold if you know are just reading in that game.
Yeah.
I'm always like finding like specific moments. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw a hunk of meat on the stove with the fire. I gotta heat up here, and then I'm gonna like read a half an hour of this book and like get just slowly chip through it. And like I don't know, it's a fun thing to. It's weird that like reading a book can be such a fun mechanic in a game,
Oh,
but in
yeah.
a game that's like so time dependent like that, and you
Mhm.
can't just be screwing around. It actually becomes
Yeah.
like such a big strategy thing of like when can I have downtime in this world?
I feel like that's the thing though with like Project Zomboid is there's kind of a time like a race against the clock in the first like week or two because that's when the power and the water is still turned on. But then once that
Oh,
stuff's
right,
cut off
yeah,
and you
yeah.
kind of are able to like you got rain collectors or you found like a well or something like you're kind of self-sufficient, you know, you got your crops growing. There is actually a lot of downtime, and that's where like some people kind of have complaints with the game where as of right now, like once you kind of get into the late game and you're settled, like it just kind of gets boring for some people.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but you know they're got build 42 forever on the horizon, so that'll apparently incorporate a lot of different things, apparently like NPCs and stuff too, which will be really really interesting.
Nice.
But like there's so many mods like in the game that people have just made throughout the community. Like they already have NPC mods. There's mods of like raiders and stuff, so it's kind of like a Last of Us situation where there's like bad humans, which that just sounds so stressful for me. I'm playing on vanilla base game. Like I you know I want to survive to at least the winter, but before I start doing crazy stuff like that. But yeah, no, there's kind of a time rush, like a time rush initially, but then once the power and everything's off, like you just have time to kill, and you can find like generators and stuff to kind of get some backup power. And then they also have like skill VHS tapes that you can also find.
Nice,
So you can go
that's
raid like a
cool.
VHS store and then load up your vehicle, bring it back to your house. Yeah, it's so fantastic. But yeah.
Nice. Anything else you've been playing?
Yeah, really quickly, I'll shout out. Kashay and I were going hard on Cult of the Lamb, as you've heard, and we kind of tapered off on it. We were like, oh yeah, let's just get like every trophy. And there's just like so much repetitive type of things that you have to do, and we've gone really hard in that game. Like I feel like we've beaten the game like 3 times over because it's kind of like a new game plus sort of thing. Like you just still keep growing your cult, but you can just do like endless runs to just get like more unlockables and stuff like that. And I don't know, we'll probably go back to it, but we're kind of burnt out on it. We went really hard. I think the time on the PlayStation's like 50 hours or something
Nice,
on the game. And I think we beat the game, like the main game, at like 20 or something. So like it's a nice game that has, you know, end game content for that reason, especially if you enjoy it as much as we do. But no, we were looking for another game like that, and we actually picked up Stardew Valley.
Okay, cool.
So I had it on Steam like long time ago. Well, I guess I still have it on Steam, but early days of Shay and I dating, I got that game for her, and she just like played it on her laptop and went like hard. Like it's one of my most played games on Steam, just because her she I feel like she really loves those types of games though, where it's like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley. Just what's the other, Harvest Moon? That was another one that she loved back in the day on the GameCube, and
Yeah.
but now they have co-op, which is fantastic in Stardew. It's a feature we always wanted, but they got couch co-op on there, so picked it up. I think it was like $20 on the PlayStation Store, and yeah, we're pretty early in on that, but that'll be the next like on the go game, or not on the go, just I guess on the go game that we just always are jumping back to. And yeah, it's nice, it's peaceful, it's just chill. I like the animation, like the little 8-bit
Yeah, beautiful
art.
art and music's amazing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Hell yeah.
nice. It's nice that it's co-op because it's split screen. So like I could be in the city doing stuff, and then she could be on the farm. Whereas some titles.
Wow,
like
you're
that,
putting her to work while you get to go shopping and
Yeah, I'm
interacting
going
with people.
fishing, yeah, going
Come
drinking
on.
with all the local farmers. But yeah, no, definitely not. It's funny. My character, I kind of styled her like Jinx, and then Shade kind of made hers like Vi because we're hot
Nice.
off the Arcane hype train. And yeah,
Finally watched
our-
the first episode of that.
Oh,
so
nice.
I finally started it.
Our farm's titled is The Last Drop, as their old tavern in
Right,
that show,
okay,
if you
yeah.
remember. But
Very
yeah,
good.
no, it's going good. So we got a couple games on the go, and
Nice. Good to
that's
hear.
it though.
Cool. Taylor, you been playing anything lately?
Well, I have been trying to do the Black Ops 6 multiplayer grind, trying to get in there. But while my mom has been staying with me the other day, she was like, "Oh, where's that Halo? You should play that Halo." I was like, maybe there's something to that. So I popped on the Master Chief Collection because I always have it installed. And I was just going through, and it's weird because when I got the Master Chief Collection back in the day, and I had beaten it, at that time it was Halo 1 Anniversary, 2 Anniversary, 3, 4, and I think that was it. ODST came later, and then Halo Reach came much, much later. So even though I've beaten those other Halo games, and I have the achievements on my profile, I go back, and it's weird because it says that I've not completed any missions in the actual game itself, which is kind of annoying, but I've got the achievements to prove it. So in retrospect, like it
Did you
doesn't
play
bother me.
that on Xbox One or something? Your save?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Right.
But it's very, very weird. I mean, I'm not pissed off about it. You can select missions, you can play whatever you want, and I'm an achievement hunter and I have the achievements, so that's that. But that being said, I went back in and loaded up Reach. I'm playing through those missions, the campaign, and it's just I'm really having a good time playing through it. It's such an amazing game, amazing story, and it's kind of tempting me because that's the first one in this whole storyline. I'm kind of thinking, you know what? Once I complete Reach, I'm probably going to go through Combat Evolved Anniversary and just slowly progress through all of them
Nice.
because there's such great games. And I've been kind of like itching to get back into that world after that show just sucked. So, yeah. But Reach is so much fun. I'm not really going to be touching the multiplayer, I don't think, as much, but yeah, just the campaign is great. And always do Legendary. Always got to do these campaign
I was gonna
missions on
ask,
Legendary.
like, since you don't have to go for the achievements, is that? I feel like if you're just going back to like for a little nostalgia hit, play the greatest hits. But I don't think I would do that on Legendary. I feel like that would be frustrating. I think I'd
I
go
always have to.
heroic or normal even just to.
I
crush it.
always have to. Ever since I did it, like, because yeah, I've beaten them on Legendary a few times, and it's once you kind of like once you do it, you kind of just know to play it safe and know like okay, just chill.
Yeah.
And if I really want, like, there are some skulls I could turn on to make it a little bit more of a fun dynamic and maybe a little bit easier, but. I don't know. I don't really use the skulls too much, but
I forgot about the skull mechanic in those Halo games. When did that start? Was that Halo 3?
Halo 3, I'm pretty sure, is when you could find them throughout the.
Did
throughout
they
the
add them
missions.
in the anniversary collections of 1 and 2, like the later versions?
As far as I'm aware, yeah, you can toggle them on.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and they're fun ones too. Like some of them, like you shoot grunts and like confetti blasts out.
Oh, the
when
birthday
you-
party one, whatever
birthday
it's called.
party
Oh,
one.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those
I
are
feel like that
always
was the
fun.
only one I would put on. I wouldn't want the ones that like change the game at all, like take
Yeah.
your radar or whatever it was. But like, I would always just use the confetti one.
I feel like that's kind of an older like game type of thing. Like I noticed the previous Ratchet and Clank had that where you could turn on like big head or little head mode or like
Nice.
same thing, like you could turn like confetti goes off when you kills off enemies, and I don't know, it's like old games had that as like a cheat. Like you would input like a couple of things and then you would have, I don't know, little heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you got to pay $5 to get each skull.
To get a little head. No, I'll keep the regular size head.
I miss big head mode. That was the good old days. The good old days. Nice. Anything else, Taylor, or just your Halo grind?
Just the Halo grind. Pardon me. I'm still going through Pokemon Pocket on the good
Right.
old mobile. So still trying to. I've actually
Pocket.
been building my decks, and I've actually been doing a lot more of the battling, and it's a lot of fun. I'm finding it actually be a little bit too addicting. Actually,
Yes.
building my decks and
That makes
countering what
sense.
other people are doing, and just like evolving your Pokemon and just setting up your plays. Some Pokemon, like back in the day, I thought like, oh, okay, I got Moltres in here. This is great, but he sucks ass because you have to put I think it's 3 or 4 energy on him, and then you have to flip a coin, and if it lands on heads you deal the damage, if it lands on tails you deal no damage. And I've never landed.
Wow, that sounds horrible.
It's fucking terrible. It's terrible. So, but there's so many fun little combos and dynamics you can work out in that game. It's great. And just ripping the packs. I opened up 10 packs today. I was just like, oh yeah, oh Charizard EX, let's go. Just like
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Have you heard of that game, Kirkland? Have you seen anything about that yet?
No.
It's like
No.
the Marvel Snap Pokemon version, pretty
Oh,
much.
okay.
Same situation.
Nice.
So
No,
I
I'm
can,
still
yeah, I
going
can
Marvel
definitely
Snap.
understand that addictive nature that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was actually just like looking through my like collection of cards, and like, man, there's some nice content in there. I'm just so proud of my my collection that I've had. I feel like I'm still so far behind, like, you know, some of the big head honchos in our Marvel Snap Discord chat there, but still, like, I've come a long way from my early days of my Marvel Snap career, and I jumped in late, so I don't regret jumping in late. Like I feel like it's, especially just when I've been grinding as much as I have, like I've really got some nice tasty cards in there. And yeah.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, as for me, just a couple games to shout out here. Taylor, I don't think you listened to last week's episode, but I mentioned to Kirkland that I bought a PS5 over the Black Friday deals. So I've been
Nice.
just playing a shit ton of PS5.
Disc version or digital?
I went digital.
Digital.
I went digital because it was $100 cheaper, and
That justifies it.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you can get the add-on. You can plug it in the side there. But yeah, for now, I'm all digital. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just I've been playing a lot more Hitman. Kirkland, I'm addicted again to Hitman. I'm just playing so much, and I'm so bad at it. But then sometimes I just have moments of brilliance. It's just like, even though I've played it for so long, it's still just an endless. You can always get better at it, or always learn new things. So that's been good. I talked about last week, Astro Bot. I have now platinumed Astro Bot. I went through, beat the whole game, and after I beat all the levels, and I was being pretty thorough, like if I was getting all the collectibles in each level, all the bots and all the puzzle pieces, I was restarting. So once I had got through the whole game, it only took me like an extra maybe half an hour, 40 minutes to pop out the last few trophies, which were, a lot of them were just like around the base, like doing funny little, like at some point in your base, you know, you're recovering all these bots from all these different IP, and they just go in your home base there. And like a couple of them are like Ken and Ryu from Street Fighter, and you just have to go punch them, and then they'll punch you back, and that gives you a trophy. So it's just a bunch of dumb little things like that. So yeah, it was just a great time. I could not put the game down. I absolutely loved it. And yeah, there was, even near the end, you unlock some like harder challenge, like kind of platform challenge levels, which were really great. But I think some of my favorite levels were the ones that were like distinctly themed after a certain IP. Like, you know, in one of the levels you get a Sam Porter Bridges bot, and he's in like a snowy level, but it's not really a Death Stranding themed level. But then there's certain ones that are like, oh, it's called Bot of War. So it's just a God of War themed level where you get Kratos' axe, and it has the same mechanics as God of War and God of War Ragnarok, which is really fun for the puzzles and stuff. And the other big ones like Uncharted, there's a Horizon one. So those levels were super, super good. And yeah, it's just fun collecting all these crazy little bots. And for all of them, you can, like, once you collect them, you can go and you spend coins to get upgrades for them, and they get like a different, not really upgrades, more just like a little prop that they get with it. So like, you know, a lot of people have like a sword that they'll get or things like that. Kirkland, I got the what's her name? Eve is the Stellar Blade character.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's one of the bots, and her prop is like the vending machine, and then you like interact with her, and
that's
like a
cool.
bunch of cans pop out, and she like fumbles to grab them and stuff. So
Nice.
it was just, after I got all of them, I just like walked around the home base and interacted with all of them, because it was just funny to see all these little bespoke animations they made for what has no gameplay purpose, but is just a fun little thing to find at the base. So just such a joyful game. Can't recommend it enough. It's super duper good. And then yeah, the other game I wanted to talk about, I hinted at this last week, is Pacific Drive. I picked this up when I got the PS5, and I've finally been playing it. For anyone who forgets what this game is, it came out earlier this year. It's like a first-person driving horror game. It feels weird to call it a straight-up horror game. I'd say more it's like first-person driving scary game, because it's not framed like a horror game. It's very mechanics focused, and I feel like horror games are usually more simple on the mechanics. So it does feel like a little bit of a distinction there. But yeah, the way this game is kind of set up. There's kind of two phases to it. You're either back at your home base, upgrading, doing things like that, or you're out driving around, which is like the main gameplay loop. And so for that part of it, it's first of all like it's very simulator-y in the way it comes across, which I don't think it's something I really understood when I was watching trailers about the game. But for example, as I'm doing like kind of the intro, teaching you the basic controls, I'm driving through, and then Kirkland, very similar to Zomboid there, I had to siphon some gas out of a car because I was running low. So I go stop my car right near this other car, get out, go siphon the gas, go to put it in my car, turn around, and because I didn't put the brake on in my car had rolled all the way down the hill. So it's that level of like simulatorness to it. Like every time you get in your car, you have to turn it on with turn the key, turn on the engine, put it into drive. The lights you have to manually do, the windshield wipers if it's raining out, you have to manually do all that stuff, which I really like that. Like there's something about getting in the car, looking over, turning the key, putting it into drive, and then even sometimes if you want to be quicker, it's like, I'm just going to leave the car on and maybe go do this thing, so it's quicker to get in and do it. If you know you're on like a flat surface, you don't even have to put it in park, but it's always a risk because if there's any hill, as I mentioned, it'll just like fly down the hill and be long gone. You don't want that to happen because if you lose your car, you are effed in this game. But yeah, you're driving around, you're looting buildings, you're trying to find maybe specific resources. Like for example, in my recent play session, I needed a bunch of rubber to like build some new tires at my home base, and so pretty much like I was ignoring a lot of the houses and things, and I was just looking for cars on the side of the road so I could chop up their tires, get some rubber. And so it's kind of that sort of thing. You're looking for specific ingredients, you're going around doing not even really quests. It's very simple. Sometimes you just have to like activate a tower or something like that. And then meanwhile, you're kind of just dodging all of the threats that are being thrown at you. There are some enemies, but I'd say most of the threats are actually like the environmental stuff. Like, for example, you might get like a dark level where it's just extra, extra dark, and you got to really be careful with like how much battery usage you're doing with your headlamps and like try and keep them off as much as possible and just turn them on when you need them. Or levels with like heavy fog, or levels with like electrical storms, or, this game's all about like this, you're in this weird zone where things are constantly changing and shifting, and so like things are just popping out of the earth, like huge platforms, things are moving around, and there's of course tons of debris all over the road, so you always have to like drive around things or drive over things, which is very risky because a couple times I got my car stuck by going off a ramp and having not enough speed, so I just like get stuck in a crevice, which just totally screws you over. So that's kind of part of it. And then I think the really, really intense, scary part about all this is you're going through these areas. Maybe you have to go like through multiple areas at a time, kind of more distinct levels. And then to leave, you have to grab these kind of orbs. I forget what they're called, energy orbs. And they are the thing that's like keeping this zone intact. So as soon as you grab it, the place is already starting to deteriorate around you. That's like almost like a battle royale. Like there's smoke coming in from around the edges of the map. Things are going crazy. More enemies are spawning. Your controls are effed. Like your car might just be veering hard left, and you're kind of like having to battle that while you have to escape. So once you grab that orb, like a big light on the map, like if you look at the box art for the game, you know, it's like this big light kind of in the horizon in the mountains. That's kind of what it looks like. It's like this huge light, and you're just like, okay, I just got to get there as quick as possible. So it's usually like planning out your route a little bit before you grab that orb of like, is it safe, or maybe I should leave my car over here and then I can run up to get to it, that kind of thing. And it's just super fun. And man, those moments at the end of the level when you grab that orb are so intense all the time. Even if I'm on like the most basic, easy part of the map, easy level, it's still like my heart is racing, the music gets intense. It's just always scary because there's so much unpredictable stuff that's going to happen. So that core gameplay loop of the car stuff, driving around is super engaging. It's just, I just love driving games. And so having a game that's like all about the driving and like no combat really it's just really fun. I love it.
You're convincing me. I feel like I was already so on the fence, and then I think I was mentioning to you last time I was on, I was like watching some more gameplay, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm still so hot on this game, but after hearing all that, I feel like it's right up my alley. I was gonna ask though, like, since the game is basically just you driving, like, how does it feel? Like, I feel like there's different levels of driving games where, like GTA driving, it's like it just is so smooth, it feels so good, and then sometimes other racing games, like, it's really blocky, and like sometimes it's not always like the most responsive. Like, does it feel good? Like, especially when it's chaotic and you're trying to escape these these areas, you get the orbs. Like I've seen gameplay when I'm assuming it is those moments. Like, it seems pretty crazy, and every little split decision kind of matters when you're going, buck 20 down the highway.
It does. Yeah, I mean, it does. Like the controls by default are really good. The weirdest thing about it is like how many first-person driving games does anyone play? You know, unless you're like in an arcade
Yeah.
and you have like the stick, you know, like the whole setup, like in that situation, you might play as a first person perspective. But for the most part, like most driving games, even GTA, like have the first person mode, you can do it. But like, I don't know a single person who actually uses that, right?
No.
So it is weird. It's weird to feel like, oh, I can't see anything. And like, if I want to look behind me, I can't just click. You know, most games like you can click in
Yeah.
the stick and you can see the back vision, right? Any racing game, but in this you have to like turn your head around, and then who knows what you're driving into, or you have your rear view mirror, but like it's kind of hard to see in it. It's a little, and it also runs at like a lower frame rate. I noticed like the render in the rear view is kind of janky. So that's like the most disorienting part about it is that you're driving through trees, tight gaps sometimes, but since you don't have that like full sense of how big your body is, it kind of throws you off, especially once again you're in a car, right? So you're in the left side of it, so it's like, okay, I'm a bit chunkier on the right side of my vision, you know, so like that part of it kind of throws you off a little bit. The controls though are great. I think a big part of it is that you're upgrading, you can change your car in specific ways, but then also part of it is that you're like, you know, it's kind of a roguelike-y game. I don't actually know how it's working or how much these levels are pre-designed or if there's random generation to them. I can't really tell that so far, but there are things like there are quirks that happen to your car. So as I mentioned, sometimes when it's just these crazy electrical storms and your controls are getting messed up, so that's a part of it. But then you'll have other things, like a funny thing that's happened in my car. Every time I close the trunk, my horn honks. Which doesn't seem like a big deal, and it's not. That one's just like a visual one. But then another thing is every time I reverse, my hood like flies up out of my car until I'm driving forward again, which I'm driving backwards. I don't normally need to see forward at that point. But those are like things on top of it that I feel like your car gets these weird little abilities or disabilities to it that kind of throws off your ability to control it as well. So yeah, but I think in terms of the actual driving, it feels really good. But then part of it too is I feel like I'm fairly early on. I don't have a ton of upgrades. And a big thing is like you have all these different tires, you know, right? You start with like spare tires, then you can get summer tires. I just unlocked like all seasons or I just unlocked off-roads, but then there is all season tires as well. And so far right now when I'm like on a dirt road, the controls are like pretty rough. It's hard to control intentionally so, right? But it's because I still have a bunch of summer tires in my car and it's not really designed for that kind of thing. So there's also that part of it. You can customize it, that experience as you're going along. And, you know, you can choose because there's a downside or a pro or con. Summer tires are better on the road than these off-roads that I have, right? So it's kind of like, what do I want to prioritize? And you won't always know like what the map is going to look like that you're going to have to go to. I guess, Kirkland, before you just straight up go to the store and buy it, I think a big part of this game, and like it's even more than I expected, is the customization and like the maintenance of your vehicle. This game is like very much like a resource gathering, building, crafting sort of game at the same time, where usually it's like after every level you go back to your garage, which first of all, I love the garage. Every time I get there, I go over, I turn on the radio system, I check my fax machine to see if I got any messages, which are like weird messages. They don't make sense. I'm trying to figure them out right now. I go around, there's this mysterious dumpster that shoots free resources, so I still grab my resources. And then I go check my car status. I look around. Okay, we got red on the headlamps. We got red on the right back door. Okay, let me decide. Do I want to destroy this door and build a new one, or do I want to repair this one? And I feel like that balance of it, I love it. I love that moment, that downtime, especially after the stress of like the scary parts.
Yeah.
But just hanging out in the garage, like I'm spending a lot of time there, upgrading my vehicle, seeing what I can upgrade, what kind of skill tree thing can I go down, deciding, with the resources I have, okay, I'm not going to be able to build this thing. Maybe I'll just repair it here, or actually I want to save this resource for the repairing stuff, so I'm actually going to just build it from scratch. Or maybe I just want to risk it and say, you know what, I'm not even going to put a hood on my car for this mission. My engine's going to be more vulnerable, but like maybe I just want to save some resources at this point in time. Or maybe I want to take, you know, my right door off and put it on my driver door so I'm more protected there because I only have one at a time. So I really like that part, but I feel like some people might not if they just want to drive around. I think you would like that kind of thing. I feel like that's...
I mean, it sounds like Zomboid to me.
It actually
really.
does. It's funny, all the things you're saying sounded very similar to Pacific Drive in that way. But there is a lot of that, and I feel like it's going to get more and more tiers and layers and levels to it as it goes along. And then like the strategy, and when you get to scarier areas that require more precise kind of building of your vehicle. On top of all that, there's all sorts of cosmetics you can do, right, for your car. Getting bobbleheads, things hanging from the rear view mirror, putting decals and stickers on, and that stuff's really fun as well. But yeah, there's a lot of like mechanical stuff of like how your car is operating at this point in time. So yeah I don't know. If you're into that, then I think if you like the driving and you like that building part, then that's pretty much what the game is. It's really just those two halves.
I mean, I was very impressed. Like the first time we even saw the game, it just seemed really unique, and to have a survival game wrapped around or like just focused on driving a vehicle, especially first person, it's just really unique concept. And it's nice to hear that you're really loving it. So yeah, I'm definitely it's gonna be more of my focus.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple last points on it. Like as I said, like the car sim mechanics, very in depth. I really like that. Like even sometimes midway through the level in your trunk, you have of course a big storage box, and then you also have a crafting bench there. So a lot of times, like mid level, you have to like, okay, I got to get out and I got to fix my car, and like that. There's a time crunch to that too. Of like sometimes, this place is the instability here is growing. This place is going to deteriorate any second, but I really need to get a new tire on because I have a flat. So like the decisions like that are really fun too. And even like, yeah, like just the making sure you're not burning your battery and leaving your lights on too much. But sometimes these levels are so dark and I don't have like a flashlight yet. So I'm like angling my car so that the headlights are like aiming at this thing that I'm going to go scrap. But then it's like, okay, I'm risking the battery here. But it's like, I don't know, a lot of really fun little decisions, but then also bigger decisions mixed in there. And then Kirkland, if you weren't already sold, here's one more thing that I absolutely love is like, as I said, you can like rip off maybe like the panel off the side of your car or a hood or a tire, and you can go put it in this thing that is exactly like the recycler from Prey, where you stick it in, it gobbles it up, and then it shoots out things all over the ground that make fun little clinking noises as they bop around on your garage floor there. It also has a bit of a like Deathloop Dark Messiah kick in it, which is very weird because there's no animation, like there's no visual for your foot. It's just like it is a mechanic thing. And at first I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like there's not really enemies that you're kicking. But then eventually I accidentally kicked my car and it like moved it a substantial amount. And I was like, oh, if I get my car stuck, I'm supposed to like boot it out. And I'm sure I'm like denting it and stuff as I'm doing that. But yeah, it's very satisfying when that happens. But yeah, then like all the like the scrapping features, like you have like this big chainsaw type thing, and that's when you're going around, you're ripping up a car, so you're like drilling through like the tires to get the resources out, and then like yeah, all the little ingredients as they pop out. It's very much like Prey in that way, and then you also have like a shop like vacuum, whatever those are called, and that's really fun to like. Yeah, shop vac to like suck up all the like ingredients off the ground too. It's just very satisfying. I think this game as well, like visually, it's not blowing me away necessarily. Like it's good vibes, good atmosphere, and there's a lot of like pop in too. So it's not, don't expect like a AAA level experience. I kind of maybe expected it to be that because it's not on PS4 and it's only on PS5. So I maybe expected a bit more. I don't know. Maybe it's a very complicated game and it couldn't run on the PS4. We're not sure. But yeah, I guess maybe set your expectations there. It's definitely not a AAA like millions of dollar budget game. But I'm like 8 hours in so far, loving it, and I feel like I've really only scratched the surface. There's like tiers of difficulty, the areas you're going to, and I haven't even gotten to like the second area yet. Wow. So yeah, it seems like there's a lot to it, and even looking at my skill trees and stuff, there are so many things I need to get on there still. So yeah, it's a really great game, really loving it. It's just weird and unique and different. Like I just love the mix of genres that it has here. It's kind of feels like something I've never played before, and that's cool in the year 2024 whenever that happens.
I feel like that was another thing I was curious about was just the overall length of it, just because it is like a more indie game. So sometimes those games are usually a little bit shorter, but sounds like you got lots of content there. So
yeah, I don't know how long. I'm gonna guess like maybe 20 hours if you're playing at the rate I am. And I'm also on like maybe not the lowest. I think I'm on like the second difficulty, and there's like 7. Like there's like a lot of them, and so I wondered if like I thought it was going to be maybe a shorter game. And then the idea is that you beat it, and then, okay, I'm going to pump up the difficulty now and try it again on a higher difficulty. I definitely want to try that at some point, but I feel like it's already given me a solid amount of challenge at just this one right here. Yeah. So I don't know what will happen when I get there. But yeah, really, really good game. Shout out to Pacific Drive. It's cool. Nice. It's on sale right now. Go pick it up.
Hell yeah. I'm curious how like speedrunners are going to tackle that type of game.
Oh yeah, I definitely. It's funny. As soon as I beat Astro Bot, I'm like, oh, I want to see some like speedrun strats. Yeah. I want to see people blast through these levels because it is kind of a speedrunner friendly game. But yeah, I definitely want to see what people do with Pacific Drive, because I'm sure if you take huge risks, you could pump through that story. Because right now it's like I'm even having a main quest, but it's kind of further away, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go to a safer, closer area, maybe get a new road unlocked, and I'm just gonna go for some resources right now. And I kind of like that decision of like, okay, I'm gonna go for a harder main quest or just like an easier one to get some resources right now. So yeah, I think you could blast through it a lot quicker than I am. But yeah, there you go. There's Pacific Drive. Let's take a a quick ad break. We'll be right back and talk about the Game Awards. Okay, we are back. The Game Awards is coming up on December 12th. I don't know, these things have been going on for a while now, the Jeff Keighley Awards. I feel like the last few years, they've really been growing and growing. They're kind of the biggest award show for games that happens every year. We're going to start out with some predictions here of the awards, and then afterwards we'll do some predictions or maybe talk about some announcements that we would like to see. Can one of you do maybe a screen share and pull up the website and go through the categories? I'll write down the predictions. But if one of you could do that, that would be great. Thank you. And I think we'll go with reverse order. We'll start with most anticipated, and then we'll go all the way up to game of the year will be the last one that we do. I'll remind you guys how this works for the Game Awards, how this jury, like how these things get picked, is that the Game Awards has selected a jury of like, I don't know, it's like 100 or 150, something like that outlets, which are things like IGN, GameSpot. There are things like video game podcasts and random news sites. So those are the jury members. And for each category here, so Game of the Year, Best Sports, Best Sim, for each category, all of these outlets, they individually pick 5 games that they want to submit for each category. It is not ranked. So it's not like they pick our Game of the Year is Astro Bot and our 5th Game of the Year is Elden Ring DLC. Like they just pick 5 and they throw them all in the hat there. Okay, and then all of those things get tabulated up. That's equal to 90% of the vote. And then the other 10% of the vote is the fan vote. So anyone, including you, the listener, or us 3 on this podcast here, we can go on the website, make an account, and then we pick one. So this is a bit different here where you can only pick, of course, one of these nominees, whereas the people on the jury can pick whatever games they want. But yeah, everyone can go on and do that. You pick one game from the list for each category, and that overall gets added together, and that's 10% of the vote. So I think I like to bring that up because I feel like it is a bit different than what maybe people expect. And in the case that, like, you know, there's 6 Game of the Year nominees, maybe an outlet didn't even pick any of those games, you know? Like it's possible that it happens. It kind of becomes a popularity contest, but also it can mean that it doesn't necessarily matter what people pick as their individual Game of the Year. It's more of like, what is the game that ends up in most people's top 5? So I don't know. That's just kind of how it goes.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Another thing too is like the jury is, I'm sure there's most, or if not a lot of them are like American companies, but it is worldwide. There are outlets and stuff from all over the world that vote on this. So I think that's maybe there's a couple games in here that you might be like, what? I feel like I haven't heard people talk about this. But maybe it's just like huge in China or huge in Japan or huge in South America, something like that, right? So that can be part of it. Are you guys ready to go? Some predictions here?
Let's do it. I'll pull it up here.
Yeah, do a little screen share. Yeah, let's start with, we're going to skip the esports categories because we don't know anything about that. We're going to skip content creator because I don't know who these people are. Every year they pick people. I'm like, I've never heard of them. I'm sure they're doing great. Not sure who they are. Let's start with most anticipated, and then we'll go backwards. So the nominees, you're good, for most anticipated game are Death Stranding 2, oh yeah, I forgot the subtitle. On the Beach. Death Stranding 2, On the Beach, of course. Ghost of Yotai, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. If this is not the most obvious category, I don't know what is.
I would put my chips on GTA 6 for this vote.
Believe it or not, I would as well.
Yeah.
I would third that as well.
What do you guys think is second?
I feel like it's an I was gonna say I feel like it's an interesting discussion for the second game, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of those are like PlayStation exclusive, so obviously that like cuts out a lot of the audience. But
potentially, yeah. I think I would say maybe Death. I don't even know. Death Stranding was kind of
say
controversial.
Two as well. But I'm just not sure how big that population is.
I might say number 2 is Metroid. Actually,
yeah,
that would be my potential guess, but I don't know.
I feel like Monster Hunter.
Anything but Monster Hunter.
Anything but Monster Hunter?
I don't know. I feel like that would be the number 5 on this list.
I feel like Monster Hunter could be like a surprise, like Eastern pick, though. That's just like a million people are playing that game.
Potential.
That's really where those Rohirrim numbers come in. But
yeah, true. Okay, cool. We can move on to the next one. You can hit previous at the top.
Yeah.
There. It'll just take you right
At
there.
first, I was just pulling up all categories. And then
oh yeah, that's a mess. All right, best adaptation, recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game.
I don't know why that's there. Why is that there?
Of course, Knuckles. We have Arcane, Fallout, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. Which shout out to my friend David from the Switchheads podcast. He's works on Tomb Raider, so shouts to him. Yeah, Knuckles. I feel like this is a category always where it's like, well, there aren't that many adaptations, but it's funny that like Knuckles beat out Borderlands, for example. Like that's what kind of comes to my mind when I see that.
I think Knuckles beating Borderlands makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Really, Taylor, you don't like either of those, I guess, but you'd still put Knuckles above Borderlands?
I'd put Knuckles over Borderlands for sure. Borderlands, I mean, it's not here for a reason. But in all, I'd put my money on Fallout above all of these. But I haven't seen Arcane, I haven't seen Yakuza or Tomb Raider, so I'm very limited.
Arcane is so fresh, right? Because it's like mid-November when the cutoff happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, when did Arcane come out? Like, it came out like mid-November, right? Like, I'm sure some of these outlets would have had early access, maybe? But even then, like, I don't know, does Netflix give early access to people for things?
I don't think so. I wouldn't imagine.
So I think I'm going to follow in Taylor's footsteps here. I think I'm going to go Fallout as well, just because I feel like that might be a bit against Arcane. And I feel like Fallout is still talked about. Like, it's not like a show that came out and people forgot about. I think people are still pretty hot on it. And yeah, people loved it across the board.
I'm going to put all my chips on Arcane for this one.
I respect that.
Bias pick, and I don't know. I just feel like it's a nice juicer right on the Netflix. I feel like that's the biggest streamer out of all of these guys. But
Yeah, for me, I think it's really just down to the release date of that one that I think maybe screws it a bit. Okay, next category is Best Multiplayer. We have Call of Duty Black Ops 6, rather, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Anything jumping out at you guys on this?
I feel like for me, it's between Tekken and Call of Duty. Call of Duty is just like always a nice relevant one. Tekken's like the more relevant of the arcade fighters, I would imagine, but I don't know. I feel like Call of Duty is just everybody's playing Call of Duty, and didn't they release the whole game on Game Pass as well? Like that's a lot more audience exposure.
It's true.
A lot less people are going to be playing something like Tekken, but I don't know if that really affects the overall numbers if people just are judging it on
I mean,
the games themselves.
I think about like that would be relevant to me for like the 10% fan vote of it, but like the 90% jury vote, like I would imagine most of those outlets have like someone on the team who's a Tekken fan or a fighting game fan, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like it's funny. I find it funny that Mario Party is in here. Because this is normally the category for like first person shooters. That's funny to just like have Mario Party in there, although it did, come up with some new multiplayer mechanics for a Mario Party game this time around with the kind of battle royale sort of element or that game mode to it. I'm gonna sorry, Kirkland, did you pick your
I'll go Taylor, how's that multiplayer? Are you enjoying it? Is it buggy? Is it glitching out?
I haven't had
the
any
Omni
problems,
movement,
but
is
I'm
it
going to say
getting to
the Omni movement is fucking annoying. I hate it. By the time I'm turning around a corner, the guy's already like gliding through the air, popping me. I can't move that fast.
Glide and Popper.
Glide and Popper. I think I'm going to side with the Glide and Popper, though. I'm going to go Call of Duty.
I am going to go with Helldivers 2 here. I feel like this game is just loved by everyone. Like it really just... It was huge, and I feel like people talk about the multiplayer part, whereas I feel like Call of Duty, a lot of people were like in the single player, or maybe they were kind of iffy on the multiplayer, or they liked the multiplayer, but I feel like Helldivers is just like, that's a multiplayer game, and people love it. And I think beyond just like the actual 4-player co-op, just like the overall community part of it, and like, oh guys, we got to send people to like these freaking robots on the Western map. I don't play the game, but something like that. I just feel like it was a big community multiplayer aspect to it as well. So I'm going to go with Helldivers on this one.
Yeah, I'm going Helldivers as well. That was dominating my feeds when it came out, and just seeing the ongoing support for that game. I think like the rallying and the world events just conquered it, especially when I compare it to all these, even Call of Duty. I think it's just got that stamp. Although, it's not on Xbox. Was it PC first and then PlayStation?
Same day,
like
right?
Same time, yeah.
Same
PS5
time?
and Helldivers.
PS5, okay.
PC, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but then there was that debacle, right, where Helldive on PC. Eventually, they were like, "Oh, you gotta have like a Sony account now to like log in," and people were really mad about that and like review bombed the game on Steam. And then I think they undid it, right,
They
Kirkland?
rolled it back.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how that makes people feel about it overall. I don't know if they're still salty or if they're like, "Yeah, I guess you undid the annoying thing." But a lot of people were pretty salty about that at the time. Let's move on. Next category is Best Sports/Racing. We got F1 24, EA Sports FC 25, NBA 2K 25, Topspin 2K 25, and WWE 2K 24. So, of course, all of us here played a little WWE on the 24-hour stream. Man, Topspin. I feel like that's not one you hear about very often.
There's a reason. It was really good this year.
Man, I'm really out of my depth on this one.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I think I might just do EA Sports FC,
That's a safe pick.
but it's a shot in the dark for me.
Between racing and soccer, I mean, it's got to
Think
be
so?
down to those two. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the spinner. I'm gonna go Topspin 2K25. I just feel like I
Wow.
keep like FIFA for me peaked in like 2013, and I feel like now I just get videos of just like the ball going right through a defender or something, and it's just like the same glitchy game that I remember, and I don't know. It's
You
just
thinking of strikers? You thinking of the EA?
both. Fuck both of those games. Give me FIFA Street. Give me a modern FIFA Street. And
I would love that.
And then I love F1, but I feel like it's just a niche audience. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we're more numerous than I think. And then 2K has just got. It's like it's a weird one where like the game's great, but it's just like
Which
money
2K?
hungry developers.
The wrestling or the NBA?
Sorry.
Or the
which
Topspin.
Which 2K? Yeah,
There's
there's
3
2Ks.
Oh, sorry. I forgot you guys aren't 2K fans. I feel like 2K is just what's known as NBA 2K. So there you go. NBA 2K25. That's what I'm saying. For not my vote. I'm going to go
recently-
Topspin 2K25.
Kirkland, I recently learned about just how savage the monetization is in NBA 2K.
It's insane.
And
yeah, it is insane.
I was so mad, even though I don't play or care about it. I was
Man.
like, this is just people are just getting juiced and squeezed for all they're worth on this.
Every year
Yeah.
they get juice. Yeah, I know. Like I love that game. Like I think I have like over 100+ hours on like 2K21. I think it was like the first one on the next gen, just because it looked so good on like the new consoles, and like I just really got into that one. But like I don't understand how people can just buy these games every year and then like buy the virtual currency, because
Yeah.
you start at like a base level and that's like your character for everything, and the only way to get higher is by the virtual currency, which is just it's
crazy.
atrocious.
All right, is the college football game that you've been playing with did that come out this year?
It did. I'm actually surprised it's not on here.
I thought I
honestly.
was expecting to hear like maybe over. Did you actually hear stuff about Topspin, or were you memeing on that?
No, I was memeing.
Okay.
I'm picking it. I'm
picking it.
going with Topspin. I like the two people in the front there.
Yeah. But yeah, I was kind of surprised not to see
Yeah.
like even maybe over WWE, as much as we had fun with GM mode there. Like I feel like I heard kind of mixed things about the actual game itself. Like I don't know. I feel like they just WWE games in general, maybe people have a lower bar. The GM mode is sick. I love it.
Yeah, GM mode is sick. No, I completely agree, because I feel like college football was like the one where a lot of reviewers were saying like EA Sports actually made like a good football game for the first time in forever, which is funny because they came out with that game and then like shortly after they came out with just the Madden game that comes out this year, and like the reviews were terrible on it. Like it's barely improved from last year, so it seemed like a lot of the focus was on the college football game, which feels a lot different from the other Madden games.
Right.
Like it's actually fun to play, not super frustrating, but
I saw you were playing some more of that the other night.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
still in there. I love it.
I'm always
Love to
cooking.
see it.
Travis messaged me, said he's been playing more Madden, so I gotta
Nice.
keep
Training
you
up
know,
for next
the
year.
joysticks cooking. Yeah, exactly.
Joysticks cooking. I love that. Taylor, sorry, did you pick EA Sports as well?
Yeah, I'm picking EA Sports.
Okay,
The people
cool.
love soccer.
People love
They do.
soccer. It's true. They also love football. And we're moving on to Best Sim and Strategy Game. All right, so we have Age of Mythology Retold, aka the game that doesn't work on Kirkland's computer, unfortunately. We got Frostpunk 2, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. This is a tricky one because I feel like even though these are all kind of in the sim strategy sphere, I feel like they are all quite different in terms of what they're going for and different scale
Yeah.
and different style. So this is a tricky one. Anything jumping out at you guys here?
Yeah, Age of Mythology hurts me because obviously I've never been able to play that new version. I actually had to refund the game, which is awful.
Yeah.
Especially because I just got so excited for it. I was looking forward to it. And I feel like because it's just betrayed me in my system, and it probably is my system, just something on my computer's end, but I'm not going to vote for it, even though I think it is a likely contender because they've actually brought in like a lot more of a kind of competitive online scene. So
Cool.
I kind of was lurking on the subreddit for it. It seems like it is fairly active, like people just talking different strategies. Centaurs are incredibly overpowered apparently.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if they've since
They
nerfed
deserve
that.
to be.
Yeah.
Many years of oppression for the centaurs,
Oh,
they deserve to
100%.
fight back.
Yeah, go watch Harry Potter. They're oppressed people. I think this game came out in console as well on Xbox. Is that true? Or
Yeah,
is it just
I believe
okay.
it's on.
So
Yeah, because with all the Age of Empires stuff, they've been making the console version, so I think they're pretty
Okay.
good with it, having the console parity there these days.
So again, like that's more audience, I guess, that could be playing it. That might
True.
affect the votes. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Kunitsugami though, Path
Okay.
of the Goddess, because I love that name. It looks really cute, and I like the art style. I don't really know anything about that game, but I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put
I
my
think
chips
you
on
would
that one.
be potentially into it. It's on Game Pass as well. I actually played it recently and didn't really play it long enough to feel like I should bring it up on Sidequest. The controls were just a little wonky to me, but like it also is more of a strategy game. But I think you'd like it because it's kind of like an action. I don't want to call it tower defense, but it's kind of tower defense. You have homies coming through these portals, and you got to set up your villagers in different spots, and you can move them on the fly. So that's where it's a little bit different than a standard tower defense. But then also you are like an action guy, and you can run in there and slice guys up too. And there's other ways that it gets evolved on. So it's a really interesting, cool game. I just found the controls a little stiff for my liking. I don't know. I also know the game, like I just saw an article today. It was like didn't sell very well or didn't hit their sales target at very least. I remember hearing some stuff about Frostpunk 2, some like negative stuff, but I don't know if that like happened because of the delay. So I don't know if it's in a good spot now. Unicorn Overlord heard really, really good things about it, and I actually played the demo for it and really enjoyed it, but I also feel like it's pretty niche. People loved Manor Lords, but it also is like an indie pick in here, so it's kind of risky. I think I'm between Frostpunk and Manor Lords, and I'm just going to go with the indie pick here, and I'm going to go with Manor Lords, somewhere a little left field.
Nice.
It's also on Game Pass PC. I want to download this one and check it out at some point. Looks really cool. How about you, Taylor? What are you thinking for this?
I'm putting my chips on Manor Lords. I feel
Oh.
like out of all of these games, I mean, again, I don't have the experience of playing them, but Manor Lords is the one that's been popping up on my feed, so I feel like that's got some of the attention right now.
Right. Taylor, I think me and you maybe have picked everything the same so far, so we'll see if that...
You can let me go first on the next one in case if you feel like I'm just following
No, I
you.
stole one
There's
from
some
you. You
sussery
stole one
going
from
on.
me. All right, we got Best Family for the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. We have Astro Bot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire. Yeah, why don't you take it away first here, Taylor? What do you think about this crop of games?
I feel like I'm going to say Mario Party Jamboree, just switch it up, but I feel like ultimately it's probably going to be Astro Bot.
Okay. I've actually played all of these games a little bit. I mean, Princess Peach, I just played the demo for like a half an hour, so that maybe doesn't count. But the rest of these I've beat Astro Bot, Zelda, and Plucky Squire, and Mario Party I've played quite a lot of as well. And yeah, interesting. It's funny, this category we jokingly say is like best family, might as well just be called the best Nintendo game category because it's almost always a Nintendo game that sweeps it. But I think this is the first year where that's not going to be the case. And I think actually Sony is swooping in here with Astro Bot. I mean, I feel like every review for this game was like, this is the best Mario game, or this is Sony did Mario better than Nintendo, all these kind of things. And I know Plucky Squire didn't quite reach the heights that I think a lot of people wanted from it. Zelda's great, but I also don't really think of it as much of a family game, even it has a cutesy aesthetic. And Mario Party, I think, is a great pick, and it is maybe the best thing to play with your family, but I am going to go with Astro Bot here just because, I don't know, there's a tendency if like a game is in Game of the Year contender category and then it's in other categories, it usually just wins that category. And I feel like I'm going to go with that rule here for Astro Bot, which is, of course, one of the 6 Game of the Year contenders. So, and I just finished it and love it as well. So it deserves it.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go Astro Bot here. Just to, I don't know, switch it up from a Nintendo pick in this category. I was thinking Peach Showtime because it was a really cute, fun game, but there was just certain levels and stuff that I didn't like as much as others. Kind of brought down some of the enjoyment, like some of the tempo killers. I feel like those missions were for me, but no.
I think
Astro
reviews
Bot's-
were kind of middling-ish on the game too,
Yeah.
so it might not
Never
might be
helps.
risky. All right, cool. Let's move on to the next category, which is best fighting game. We have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue, Fantasy versus Rising, Marvel
What a
vs.
name.
Capcom Collection, Arcade Classics. A lot of mouthful titles here, but then 2 easy ones: Multiverses and Tekken 8. So I wanted to bring this up because I mentioned this on our episode a couple weeks ago, Taylor, when the nominees got announced. That this is really weird for me because Multiverses was nominated and won when it came out 2 years ago originally, and it went offline and then relaunched this year, and here it is again.
Yeah, that's
Just
shady.
collecting best fighting game awards.
It's just so dirty. I don't like that at all. But it's like, I don't know. Do I just go with it because it won before? It's won the Game Award for this exact category. So like, who am I to say it's not going to do
What
it
year
again?
was that again? Sorry.
I think it was 2 years ago. So 2022. Yeah, that sounds correct. Now, I don't know if any other big fighting games came out that year. I can't remember what the competition was off the top of my head, because I know last year was Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, right? So I'm trying to think.
DNF Duel, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, All Star Battle R, King of Fighters XV, Multiverses, and Sifu. Looks like.
Yeah, so I mean, that's like kind of an easy win for Multiverses in my opinion,
Yeah.
whereas I feel like this year it actually has some more competition. People like Dragon Ball, people like the Marvel Capcom Collection, but I'm going to go with Tekken 8 here. I think it is just the legacy fighting game in here, and I've heard really great things about it. It is a bit more of a niche fighting game, in my opinion. Maybe more niche than Multiverses, but I also think Multiverses came out and not flopped, but it didn't have the splash that it did originally when it came out, because it came out for the second time. It's less fun when it is already released once before. And I also don't think like the new features are added were like amazing compared to where it was at when it went offline. So I'm going to go with Tekken 8 here for myself.
I think for me, I'm gonna stick. Yeah, definitely not Multiverses. I just feel like it's grimy for that to even be in there. I think I'm gonna go Dragon Ball here. Gonna go with the heart pick. It could be Tekken, Marvel versus Capcom. I feel like there's just some terrible like quality of life features in that game.
Yeah.
Like you have to make a quick save just to like go back to the menu.
That would hold
Terrible.
me back from voting for it for sure, I think.
Yeah, and then I looked up Grand Blue Fantasy. It didn't seem like the reviews were the best for that one. So
Dang.
Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is my pick.
Very nice. How about you, Taylor?
Oh, Tekken 8 for sure.
Okay.
Tekken 8.
Lock it in, Tekken 8. And we can move on to, I believe, Best RPG is next. We have Dragon's Dogma 2 showing up for the first time, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor Fantasio. I guess, Kirkland, I don't think we've talked about this yet, but how do you feel about the whole Elden Ring DLC being eligible in every category, technically?
If you would have asked me at the end, you would know that I'm not going to be voting for any of these titles that are re-released. So yeah, I don't like it at all. I think it's stupid. Honestly, it should be like if you want to have a category, best like add-on for the year or like best DLC.
That is a
something
category.
like that. Yeah,
Best
no, that's
ongoing
that's so
game,
crazy
whatever,
to me.
yeah.
I get it. It's well received, but it's not a game. It's like Miles Morales, yes, that's a game that you could put in this category if you well, it's not really an RPG game, but it's not just a DLC.
There's a skill
for
tree. It's an
Spider-Man.
RPG game.
It's I don't like the idea that
Yeah.
the DLC's in there.
So are you gonna not vote for it out of spite?
I'm gonna not
because
vote
of that?
for it out
Okay.
of smite. Yes, exactly. Out of spite.
Smite's a cool game
I'm gonna
too.
smite my vote right out of there.
This is actually a really strong category here. I mean, you have Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, and Metaphor are all games that are in Game of the Year. nominee category as well. So obviously all very strong. Like a Dragon. I feel like it maybe came out a little bit less hyped than the last game in the entry, but still people really love that game. And then Dragon's Dogma is more like action heavy of the RPG games of the pack here. I guess Elden Ring is a pretty action heavy game as well. But yeah, I think that makes it a difficult decision. I think I do have to side with my rule once again of like it's going to be one of the things that are in Game of the Year. I'm pretty split between Final Fantasy and Metaphor, to be honest. So I'm going to think about it a little bit while you guys... How are you guys feeling about this?
It's interesting how it brings up, like, for the best game design with rich player character customization. Well, like, some of these titles you're playing as, like, a character that I imagine you're not changing. You're not customizing the character much. I guess maybe, like, the skill tree, that's where it kind of comes down to.
Yeah, I think that's more...
I'm going to go... I'm going to go Metaphor here.
Mm-hmm.
May or may not spoil where I'm thinking game of the year
Okay.
stuff is, but yeah, I'm gonna go Metaphor here. And Like a Dragon, I don't know. It's a wild card to me. Like I just feel like I never really knew about this universe, and these games just keep coming out, and they keep doing well. But like it's just such a blind spot for me. I'm like, is this like a GTA game? You know, like what?
Kind of
even
is
type
a little
game is?
bit, and then some of them have turn-based combat, some of them have real-time combat, so that's always hard to
Wild.
follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to copy you here, and I think the reason for me is, like, from what I've heard of Final Fantasy, another great entry here, but some people were a little let down with some of the story elements of it, whereas I feel like Metaphor, I haven't heard a single issue anyone has, and I feel like RPG is the category for it specifically, so I'm going to go with Metaphor as well here.
Oh, I feel like I'm going to say Dragon's Dogma 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Why are you going for that one over some of these other Game of the Year contender ones?
That was one of my go-tos for my video game draft, and I had good feelings about it, and
Okay.
it did not
Double
do
downing.
too bad score-wise, so I think maybe it's got a potential.
It's earned some goodwill for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Respect that.
That's an interesting way to predict what's going to win an award, but I like it. All right, next category is Best Action Adventure. So for the Best Action Adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, we have Astro Bot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Interesting category, like Silent Hill in action adventure. Like there is no best horror game category, but that does seem like an odd spot for it.
Yeah.
I also feel like Star Wars Outlaws being in here is funny to me, just because I feel like from what I heard, I was like the most positive person I know about that game, and I was not expecting that for myself. Heard great things about Prince of Persia, but is it too niche? I'm not sure. Always hard to go against Zelda, and then Astro Bot. I don't know. I guess action adventure just feels like a weird category name for this game, but I guess it does technically have all of these things that are in the category description, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the big Goliath Astro Bot here. I just feel like it's a nice ripe, juicy fruit that just it's probably a
move you.
safe pick for like almost any category that it's a part of. So I don't really know too much about these other ones. I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna go Astro Bot, Team Sony.
I'm going to copy you here. Once again, my rule, if it's in the Game of the Year category, it's got the sauce.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great game.
Make it a hat trick.
Hat-trick.
Patrick. All right, next category is just best action game. For the best game in the action
dropped
genre.
Last one was best action/adventure, wasn't it? And now we're just best action.
You're not wrong. Why do they have these two categories? Not
Don't
sure. But I guess the difference being that these games don't have traversal or puzzles. That's the difference. I don't know. It's very weird. It's kind of weird to me that also none of the games crossed over, actually. In both genres. That's very odd. But
That is very odd, actually.
anyway, our contenders here are Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, Kirkland's favorite, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. So, games primarily focused on combat. That's an interesting description. I don't know how close the jury members read that verbatim before they pick these. I think I'm going to go with Helldivers again here. And I think it's maybe a bit of a risk. I'm kind of between that and Black Myth. I feel like those are the kind of the two front runners here. Very different kinds of games. What I heard with Black Myth is that it's kind of more of a boss rush game rather than like fighting a bunch of little guys and then fighting and then making it to a boss and fighting a boss. And maybe that could turn some people off. Whereas Helldivers, it's just, what else do you do in that game other than fight? It's like nothing, right? Like you're fighting bugs, you're fighting bots, or the game's off, you know? So I'm going to go with Helldivers on this one.
Interesting category. For me, I think it's between Black Myth and Stellar Blade, just because they're the most like hand-to-hand combat focused ones, and in my mind, I just feel like it fits the category a little bit more. Stellar Blade has, I would imagine, I've only played Stellar Blade versus Black Myth Wukong, but I've seen a lot more just dedicated combat gameplay from Black Myth Wukong, whereas Stellar Blade, you got the fan service aspect to it, which could be a positive or negative to the voters. Who knows?
Yeah, there's no best fan service category, unfortunately.
No.
So
Yeah.
Stellar Blade would
like
have had
all
that one
Japanese
on lock.
I think I'm just gonna go with my heart pick here, though. I'm gonna go Stellar Blade, just because I don't know. Hopefully, because if I went elsewhere and it won, I feel like that would hurt a lot. That I just lost faith in my.
It's not in a lot of
categories.
categories, so this is one of your few chances to vote for it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I respect that.
Support my baby there. So yeah. Stellar Blade,
My
Stellar
babe.
Blade and Eve gets my vote.
Hell yeah! And how about you, Taylor?
I'm going Helldivers too. I just think that you said it, fighting the bugs and the bots and stuff like that, and just the combat where people like their teammates drop in, like just it's combat everywhere.
It's combat everywhere. Taylor, can that game run on your PC? Do you think?
I think it probably could actually.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we should be booted up,
jump in,
boys. What are we
boys.
doing?
Let's
Why
get
did
in
we
there.
wait until? Well, I'm waiting because I didn't have a PS5 until 2 weeks ago. But we should definitely do that. It's on sale
I'd be
right now.
down.
I might pick it up.
Hell yes, I'll download it. I'm getting right in there. We even got Hidalgo if we need a fourth. If Travis is
Yeah.
in there, so
Absolutely.
yeah,
Cool.
it's a great game. It's
Well, that's
basically
what
just
we'll do later.
Starship Troopers, the game. Like it's
Right.
it's that great, and even just like all the marketing, or not the marketing, just the in-game. I guess in-game advertisements for what they're doing. It's very much just feels like it's ripped right out of Starship Troopers.
Very nice. Okay, we got best VR AR game here. We have Arizona Sunshine Remake. I read this game a few weeks ago when I was reading the nominees. I swear I've never heard of this game before right now. It looks like a zombie game, though. Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadow, Metal Hellsinger VR, and Metro Awakening, which, really surprised me when that game came out, or when that game was here, because I was like, man, I did not hear anything about that. It's not a good sign. I feel like it kind of came out and no one talked about it. This is tricky. I think Asgard's Wrath won, like the first game, won the award years ago when it came out. And it's one of those like heralded best VR games. But then I also heard really good things about Batman. And then obviously I've never heard anything about Arizona, so I'm not going to be voting for that one. Interesting. Vertigo games. So Metro Awakening and Arizona Sunshine were both made by the same developer here. I didn't realize that. And then Metal Hellsinger, didn't even know that had a VR version that came out this year. That game originally came out a couple years ago. I'm going to go with Batman here. I'm going to go with the Dark Knight himself because, I heard people just really, really enjoyed this game. And I think it's a good popular one, right? Because really that's what the Game Awards is. It's like whatever the most popular game is, that's going to win. And I feel like that just naturally is going to pull people in who aren't normally VR players or like who haven't whipped their headset out in a couple of years, but they'll come to check out this Batman game. And so maybe they like just vote for one game and it's just Batman and that just climbs to the top here. So that'll be my reasoning for that pick here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Batsy as well here. Big Batman from Arkham Shadow. It's funny. I just randomly get like on my feeds just like VR gameplay, and this was one where I got. It was just hilarious. Like it's usually just people doing like the most ridiculous kills and just like really excessive violence through their VR headset. And Batman was on there and just seeing with the Batman gauntlets just piercing people, shoving things in areas you don't want to have shoved. So. I'm going to go Batman for those reasons.
Great reason.
Yeah, I will put my vote down on Batman as well, but I will say I have played a little bit of Arizona Sunshine. They
Oh,
have the VR rooms, the VR arcades here in town, and so me and my dad, we go there a few times and play a few games. And Arizona Sunshine was one of the ones we played a little bit of. And holy shit, is that fun! Just like me and him in the world, like moving around and just like the zombies coming. I'm like, oh, throwing grenades, just like coordinating in this like with our guns and stuff. That's one of my
sweet.
favorite father-son gaming times. Was
Nice.
playing Arizona Sunshine. So
Is it
it's-
kinda
it's
like
the
a
fun
remake
game.
or the original one?
I was playing the
Ooh.
original one.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
I'm assuming this is just a remake of that.
Is it kind of like a Dead Island style game? In the
Yeah, like you have
gameplay?
objectives. You got to get from point A to point B, and you have little objectives that you're doing in between. And so you're not actually like, if I remember it correctly, your character isn't walking and moving. Like you see where you see where you want to go, and you click like a button on your remote, and your character just like appears there within range. So you got to like keep doing that to move, and the zombies just keep like slowly walking towards you. It's a lot easier than it sounds. It sounds a little bit complex, but once you get into that groove, you're moving pretty good, and
Nice.
it's fun. Just like pulling the pins on your nade, throwing your nades, reloading your guns, and shooting. Like it's so freaking awesome.
Awesome. Either way, though, it is the Batman hat trick here, so we'll move on to the next category after our next break. We'll be right back.
Oh, don't look.
Okay, we are back for best mobile game. For the best game playable on a mobile device, we have AFK Journey, Balatro Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero. This is a tricky category because you have Pokemon, which just came out recently. You got a
10
lot of
million
Pokemon heads. 10 million downloads. That's not a small amount of downloads. People love it too. I haven't heard a single negative thing about it. People feel like it's pretty generous for a mobile game, which is always a good thing. Balatro, kind of got ported to the mobile stuff later and is one of the Game of the Year contenders. And then I feel like Zenless Zone Zero, just if we're like factoring in this being like a worldwide pick, I feel like that game's really huge, like in China and other places. I don't know how many outlets are specifically from those countries where the game is big, but I feel like that's a really big one. And I don't know much about the other two games in here. So I think I'm really down to Balatro and Pokemon, but what do you go? Taylor, you're going to vote for your baby here, Pokemon?
I'm voting for it. I think that's
10 million
locked and
downloads.
loaded.
He was
10
one of
million downloads.
Look at the numbers. How about you, Kirkland?
I had no idea Balatro was released on mobile. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think
This
it was like maybe 5 or 6 months afterwards, something like that in the
okay.
summer, I think.
You introduced me to this game. You did a review on Sidequest one of these days.
Oh,
Maybe it was
amazing
just the
game.
Games yeah, and it's just been popping up all over the place. Like tons of different friends on like Steam or PlayStation
Nice.
or whatever. Like I just see them on Balatro. It's also for Game of the Year, which is actually
is.
crazy for a potential mobile game. Well, it's not a potential mobile game. It is a mobile game. I'm gonna go
Yeah, that's actually a
Balatro.
good point. I don't know if that has happened ever before. Maybe like, would Genshin Impact have been a Game of the Year? No, I don't think so. I don't know. I can't think of another time where a Game of the Year contender was a mobile game.
You do bring up some hesitations for me when you bring up like the Asian countries and like China specifically, like how much mobile gaming is like a thing in like some of those Eastern countries just blows my mind. But Balatro's Game of the Year.
Yeah, I'll say that. I'm going to go for Balatro. Once again, my rule here, but I also do think that game, like, it got a second wind when it came to mobile. People were popping off about that. And, I mean, it's probably just the best game on this list, outside of it being a mobile game. And the fact that it's also just casually a mobile game as well. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's insane. Yeah, I'm going for that one for sure.
I'm going to go Balatro.
And I love it. I have like 70 hours in it. It's fantastic. So cool. Speaking of indie games, let's talk about some best debut indie games. We have Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. So really strong list of like debut indie games from this being new studios making these games. Hell yeah. Congratulations to all these developers. Played all these except for Manor Lords, as I talked about earlier. Animal Well is a really, really great, interesting, weird game. I think Pacific Drive is a bit too niche. I don't think that one's going to make it, unfortunately, even though I clearly love it. Plexi Squire, I talked about that earlier, how it's iffy. For me, it's really between Animal Well and Balatro, and I'm boring, but I'm just going to go Balatro again here, and I don't really think... Next to maybe most anticipated of GTA, this might be like the next most slam dunk, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm getting Balatro.
I'm going to take your word for it and go Balatro.
Okay. I convinced you. And then we have Best Indie Game. We, once again, here have Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50, my baby. So happy to see it in here for this category. But it stands no chance against Balatro. And Balatro is going to wipe the floor. When I go on the website and I log in and pick my votes, UFO 50 is getting my vote. But my vote is only worth like 0.001%. So it's not gonna move the needle. I'm going Balatro here again.
Yeah, Balatro.
Make it a hat trick.
Nice. Best community
And-
support.
Oh, okay, yeah. Best community support. Recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates / patches. So here we have Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky, which is funny to see that one still here after all these years. I don't know. Did they have a new big update this year? Probably. I don't remember what it was, but
They're always tweeting.
Good for
They're
that
always
game.
tweeting to their fans.
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna go Baldur's Gate 3 here, just because they're bringing crossplay to the game finally, which is just amazing. So now I can play with friends that aren't on the same console as me. You know, me and Hidalgo are already potentially scheduling a campaign start over the Christmas holidays. So
Very nice.
I'm very much excited by that, and I feel like they've also been pretty. Well, they're nominated in this category, so they must be. But I feel like they're pretty good at communicating with the community on like mod support as well. Like that's the thing that was brought to consoles, which usually takes a long time. And I'm mostly just pulling that knowledge from like Bethesda games. So and like unlike Bethesda mods where you have to pay for them, like you don't have to do that at all for Baldur's Gate 3, which is fantastic. And obviously it's
they added a
limited
lot
what
of
you can do.
content to it as well.
Yeah.
Just random little things or some even bigger things this year. Some of that might bleed over, and it's kind of tricky, right? Because also the game came out on Xbox like in December, so that was like after the voting period of last year for Game Awards. So it's kind of tricky, but in that sense too, it also came to a new platform this year. So maybe that's this year, quote unquote. So yeah, a lot of points for Baldur's Gate for sure.
Yeah.
Is that your vote, Kirkland?
That's my vote. Yes,
Okay.
Baldur's Gate 3.
I'm going to slap mine down on Fortnite. I think it's just... They just got the Godzilla update now. I think it's on everyone's minds. So I think it's... And they had a Snoop Dogg concert in there too. Like,
Was the Lego update this year and the Rocket League thing this year?
I'm not sure.
yes,
I
it
don't follow
was.
that game.
I believe it was this year.
I all I know about that game is they're bringing back like OG Fortnite, which whenever they do that, people seem to get pretty frothy around the mouth area. So I think that's gonna be. It makes sense.
Lego
why it's in
update
here.
came out in
People get excited.
December, so
Oh.
tricky though. But once again, after the last year's voting period, Helldivers I think is that tricky one where it's like, okay, they had that PlayStation thing on PC, but then they took it away. But it's still like, okay, are you responsive? But also you did this thing that no one wanted in the first
They're
place.
supporting
You
the
know?
community.
Yeah, yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, I didn't really even acknowledge that Final Fantasy had a new thing come out this year. I feel like that update didn't have the same way it moved the needle. Like the last DLC was in multiple categories. That's how big it was. Where this one didn't even know it occurred. Or wait, 14. That's the MMO one, right? Am I crazy? Yeah, it is. Hard to remember these numbers sometimes. I think you guys both make very good points. I'm gonna go with Fortnite here. I'm gonna copy Taylor. I don't really have a good reason why. I just feel kind of iffy and like when in doubt, Fortnite. You know, that's all there is to it.
There you go.
Best ongoing. Awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. We have Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2. And I find this hilarious, Kirkland, that in this category, the Elden Ring DLC is not here. The category that is, or should be for DLC.
Yeah.
Elden Ring is not in this one. So just weird the way that goes. I do feel like I guess Helldivers had updates and like things constantly changing in the world map and like new attack zones and things that were coming out. But I don't know if I really think of that as an ongoing game at this point in time in that same way that these other games do. Diablo 4 DLC, Destiny 2 had its, I think, final DLC. Fortnite had some stuff.
Yeah.
I think I might just copy my own vote from last round and go Fortnite again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign
if,
me up.
If Airtree was in here, I would have voted for it, but I'm gonna vote.
I know,
for
me too,
Fortnite.
right? Just weird the way that works.
Yeah.
All right, next category is games for impact. For a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message, we have Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzara Zhao. Always a tricky category, in my opinion. Out of all these games, Indica, I was surprised to see her because I thought it was like a horror game. I didn't realize it had some games for impact element to it, so I'm curious to see what that is. I do want to check that game out. It's on my wish list, waiting for the right time to pick it up. This is a tricky one for me. I might Neva's. Is it too niche? Senua's Saga. I'm gonna go with Neva here. It's kind of a shot in the dark, to be honest, but people really like that game, and it seems to fit the category, so I'm gonna go with that one.
You played Senua's Saga, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I didn't like it that much. It does some of the stuff it does for like Psychosis in terms of turning that into gameplay mechanics and treating that very thoughtfully. I think is really well done. I didn't really love the story of the game, but I think that element of it, like the games for impact part of it, I think is well done.
Yeah.
I don't really love the game that much. Go check out our review if you want, people. But yeah.
I'm gonna go Neva as well.
Okay.
I think it looks really cute. And unfortunately, I haven't played any of these titles, so I can't really pull from that knowledge.
Right.
I have no pile of knowledge to source from for the year, but I'm going to say Life is Strange, Double Exposure.
I think that's a great pick. Great pick. Well done. Innovation in accessibility. Recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. Interesting. Recognizing software and or hardware. I don't think I've ever seen hardware in this category. Like I think of even like it was like last year or the year before where PlayStation released their accessibility controller, the kind of circular controller that's better for people who maybe have, difficulty with their hands or missing fingers, things like that. So I'm kind of surprised that didn't show up in this category. I wonder if that's like a change or people just don't think about that kind of thing. Or maybe that's just super niche that the people are going to use that is such a small amount of people, whereas these other games are more popular.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't even said the games here. We got Call of Duty. I don't know where that came from. Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, Star Wars Outlaws. So interesting. This is the first time that Dragon Age is making an appearance. You would think it maybe would have been in Best RPG or something like that, but it is not. I have no freaking clue. I feel like usually I vote for like a PlayStation game, but there aren't any in this category this year, so I don't know.
I usually feel like the big studio games usually have the best options for this. That's why I'm like kind of just getting pulled towards Call of Duty, just because they always have like colorblind modes and just audio things that you can change. Like they're usually pretty good for that. I feel like Diablo would probably be pretty similar. I've never played that game, so I never got a glimpse at what the settings.
That's such a weird one too. Like the DLC came out this year, but the game didn't come out this year. It's like, did the DLC add a ton of accessibility options or something? It seems really odd to me. Accessibility DLC or something.
Yeah, but like this could be a category that they just, I don't know, a little bit of a smaller one might just sneak in here and win it. I'm gonna go with just Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Let's throw it on it.
Okay, I'm gonna go COD for no reason in particular.
I'm going to go Star Wars Outlaws because I remember Dylan, our review, we were talking about how they had a lot of different menu things that you could interchange with. You could even change like the size of the screening and stuff. There's lots of cool little software features. I'm not going COD because the Omni movement's fucking horrible. So.
You can't turn it off. You would.
You can't turn it off.
No Omni movement servers. People probably have on PC. Yeah. All right, moving along. We have Best Performance. Awarded to an individual for voice over acting, motion, and or performance capture. We got Brianna White from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, who plays a character that I'm not sure of. We have Hannah Tell from Life is Strange Double Exposure playing a character I'm not too sure of. Humberly Gonzalez, Star Wars Outlaws. I'm guessing that's the main character whose name. Oh God, Taylor, what's the protagonist's name in that game?
Isn't it like Kai or something like that?
Yes, Kai. Thank you for that. We got Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2. Presumably playing Mr. Silent. I don't know what that character's name is. And we got Melina Jurgens playing Selena. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. My words are fumbling here. This is a tricky one because I haven't played most of these games, but I'm going to go with Melina. She won the award last time when Hellblade 1 came out, and I feel like there's just so much that goes into the mocap of that, and like in their advertising, they advertise the mocap and things like this, so I just feel like it's more top of mind for people. So I'm going to go with that one. It's probably a boring pick, but I also think it deserves it. Like her performance is amazing. That's not my issue with that game.
I'm gonna ride that train with you. Give me Melina.
Make it a hat trick.
Another hat trick over here. Cool. Do you think it'd be fun if we did this as like a competition and like if whoever goes first like picks the game, then you can't pick that, and it was like a draft in a way?
Oh, that'd be brutal.
That is like the most fraudulent voting I've ever heard.
One year we'll try it. We got best audio design here, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. Astro Bot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. Boy, I think I'm going to go with... Wow, this is actually tricky. I don't know anything about Silent Hill's sound. Call of Duty, it's Call of Duty. They record gun sounds. Cool. We've seen that before. Final Fantasy, don't know why that's in here. I'm sure it has... People like the music, but I don't know. Does it have good sound design? I'm not sure. Hellblade's an interesting one, right? Because another thing and they put in the marketing is so much of a focus on like the 3D audio and like wear headphones with this game because the sound is crazy, and like it is. Then I also feel like Astro Bot, like with the sounds coming from the controller and like the sounds of different movements and things like that. Kind of goes both ways. I think I'm going to go with Astro Bot here just because I'm between Hellblade and Astro Bot, and Astro Bot's a more popular game, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm going here.
I'm going to go Senua's Saga. Every time I see this in the first game on my Steam list, it says, like, we recommend with headphones. We recommend with, like the surround audio. It's like, okay. Yeah. Hopefully it wins the audio category if it's going all out on those aspects. But
Yes.
yeah.
Good point.
I always see videos of Call of Duty, them like flying jets and shooting guns and holding the microphone next to it, and they're like flaunting their sound design, but they never win this category, I feel like. So I'm gonna go with Senua's Saga with you, Kirkland.
Nice. Kirkland, you want to read off the next one? Give my vocal cords a rest here.
Yes, I'd love to. We got Best Score and Music. This category is for Outstanding Music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. We got Astro Bot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor Refantazio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. My beautiful, lovely Stellar Blade. I'm going Stellar Blade here.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting any time. The music in this, if you listen to our last week's Sidequest, I went off on the soundtrack here. Very reminiscent of Nier Automata, which I don't know if it won it that year. Even if Nier Automata was nominated, but I feel like it must have won. Like it's just such a beautiful soundtrack. I've been listening to it throughout the week, and it's beautiful sounding game. I'm sure a lot of the other ones on here are worthy of that as well, but just pulling from my own memory bank.
Nier did win in 2017.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that gives me hope.
And Hellblade won Best Audio Design that year.
There you go. I'm winning both these last two categories.
Could be. Yeah, we talked about this last week, as Kirkland mentioned, because you were playing Stellar Blade, but then, I went on Spotify, listened to all these soundtracks, and then, Astro Bot I've been listening to in the last week here. Stellar Blade is my pick in terms of the best music of the pack here, but since it's popularity contest, I'm going to go with Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy is just one of those series that is known for having the best music of all time, and I'm sure Rebirth soundtrack was absolutely killer, and it's a Final Fantasy game, so hard to beat that. So that's my vote there.
Let's go Astro Bot.
Ooh, okay.
Is
Google
there
correctly, you
copyright
can-
music in Astro Bot at all?
No,
I
I don't
hope
think
not.
so. I'm trying to even think if there's
no
like
Sleep Till Brooklyn or something comes on. We need a hero, the classics.
none of that. I'm wondering. I couldn't tell if like, oh, this is like a God of War theme that they're playing in the God of
Oh,
War level.
okay.
I didn't really like. I think everything is its own individual song.
Yeah.
Even if it's maybe got some vibes of that, but
Right.
you can read the next few categories. Why not? Take it away.
Yeah. Next we got Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and/or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. We got Astro Bot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Eritrea DLC, Metaphor, Refantasio, and Neva.
Whew. Tricky category here. Very different art styles for.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Black Myth and Elden Ring similar, but
Right.
I think I'm gonna go with Black Myth. I just feel like that game. I don't know. At least from the trailers, it just looks unreal. I didn't even
Yeah.
think it. I literally did not think it was a real game the first couple times I saw it. I'm like, this can't. This has to be like Pixar animation making this crazy thing. It just looked way too good. So even if it's not like as stylized as a Neva or a Metaphor, I'm gonna go with Black Myth on this one.
Yeah, no, it's like movie quality. I think I'm gonna go Metaphor though, just for the really uniqueness
Nice.
style of it. I guess it's kind of similar to something like Persona, but even then, it
Well, it
still
is, but I mean, I
seems
think
different.
people like. I'm sure the
shaded and-
UI looks really cool and interesting.
Yeah,
'cause
I've
that always
seen
is in
like
Persona.
screenshots, and it looks just
Yeah,
like,
I think
amazing. So
That's something that really stands out to people. I feel like when
Yeah.
they're voting on this kind of stuff. So I'm sure it's a top contender, no doubt. I mean, obviously it's top 5.
Yeah.
Taylor, what do you think?
Oh my goodness gracious. Best art direction. Let's go Neva. That just looks so artistic.
Ooh, nice pick.
Oh, it's me again. So we got best narrative category next. This is for the where am I? Oh yeah, for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. We got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Metaphor, Refantasio, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2.
Interesting
Start us off.
to see Silent Hill. I feel like I don't know why that just seemed
Yeah.
surprising in this category.
I feel like I always
for
see
me.
Silent Hill games as like a movie that you're going through. It doesn't. I guess it's.
That's a good point. I guess I always see them more as like atmosphere, and I think about it less
Yeah.
of like the actual story and more about just the general vibes of it. But I guess that's something you could factor in.
It just
here.
seems like every Silent Hill game, you're like going to the town to find someone, and then like as you're doing the journey, you're like unraveling the tale of kind of what happened.
your memories
So,
are coming back. That kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah. What do you think, Taylor? Where are you going on this one?
I'm feeling like Hellblade 2 has the best narrative. I just remember seeing those cinematic trailers and thinking, "Oh my god, this is just seeping story right now."
Seeping.
Seeping story.
A lot of
Seeping
seeping
story.
occurring in that game.
for
It's tricky.
myself, I'm thinking Final Fantasy here. I'm thinking Final Fantasy because I don't think Final Fantasy is gonna win Game of the Year. Even though when we were coming into here, I was thinking pretty strongly that was gonna be my Game of the Year pick. But as we're going along, I feel like I've kind of wavered and seeing that it's actually Metaphor's in here as well.
Yeah, it is.
That could be a juicy Game of the Year as well. I'm gonna go Final Fantasy because I feel like out of my top 3, Final Fantasy might be in there for Game of the Year, but it would probably be the 3rd slot, and I'm gonna put it here for that reason.
Alrighty, I'm gonna lock in Metaphor. I feel like it's kind of got this category on lock. You know, for all the praise Final Fantasy Like a Dragon get, I feel like criticisms, if any, I've heard for those games is like, I didn't love the ending, or like this story beat thing didn't work for me. And Senua, I don't know if everyone feels the way I do, but I feel like generally people were kind of middling on the game. I'm kind of even surprised it made it in the top 5, which is maybe a sign that it is the winner. Silent Hill, as I mentioned, kind of seems like an oddball in the mix here, but I think Metaphor is just a game that, for everything I've heard about it, like it's tackling society and politics in all these different ways, which feels very prescient right now, especially post-election. I feel like it's, I don't know, it just feels like a game that makes people think and rethink things and talk about philosophy and famous writers and all these things. I feel like it's one of those things that just inspires so much because of its narrative. And I don't know, I've heard maybe some people talk about the combat or other systems, but I feel like people just praise that narrative of that thing. So I'm gonna go with Metaphor. And hey, it's from the Persona developers, and people love those stories as well. So locking in Metaphor on that one.
Nice.
And yeah, Taylor went for Hellblade.
Okay, next we got Best Game Direction, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. We got Astro Bot, pardon me, Balatro, Black Myth, Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth,
love that
Metaphor,
subtle dig.
ReFantazio. We got six in this?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't mention this at the top, but for any category, if there's ever a tie for, I guess, any spot, then, I guess for any spot, then they will add a sixth game in. Me and Taylor were talking this a couple weeks ago, actually, that is technically what they say, but I think Game of the Year every year has always had 6 games. And that just seems a little weird to me that it's like, there's a tie every single year. Really? That seems kind of whack. So,
Yeah.
I mean, might not necessarily be a tie for any particular. Well, if there would be a tie for first, for example, then obviously the fan vote would break that tie.
Yeah.
But in this case, maybe it was a tie for fifth, I guess, and then there was 2 games that sneak in there. So I don't know. It does seem odd to me, but that's just what happens sometimes. Also note here that these are the exact same games in Game of the Year. I don't think it's ever happened before where Game Direction and Game of the Year have the exact same. Usually there's like 1 or 2 swaps that happen. But yeah, in this case, it's the exact same games. So Game Direction, boy.
Yeah.
Really, really tricky one because who knows how the jury is going to be picking things for this. In this case, it looks like they just picked the same things that they felt for Game of the Year. So I kind of feel like whatever Game of the Year is going to be the winner for Direction, maybe.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. Because I don't think I'm going to pick like the same for these next 2 categories. Like I don't think I'm going to double down on Game Direction
respect that.
and Game of the Year. So it's kind of a matter of what my Game of the Year is right now. And as I said coming into this, I thought I had my my pick done, but I don't know. The more I look at these, because I feel like Astro Bot, from everything I've seen, is incredibly creative and just like innovative in the sense of using the hardware of the PlayStation. Like you and I were discussing that last week. Still haven't done Astro's Playroom. I'll have to jump in.
You got time. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I'm going to go Astro Bot here, actually, as not my Game of the Year. So a little bit of a spoiler there. But yeah, no, I think it's just, I don't know. I guess you could make an argument for pretty much all of these in this category, but I'm going to just stick to the big Goliath, Astro Bot himself, Team Sony.
Yeah, I find this category really tricky this time around because I don't really think of any of these games as terribly innovative except for maybe Balatro. Like Astro Bot is just like a really great 3D platformer. It has transformations, but so many 3D platformers have that. Black Myth is like a Souls-like kind of game. Elden Ring is, why would that be in Game Direction? It's just like, there's some new boss fights, okay, but it doesn't really change the core formula in any way. Final Fantasy, I don't know, it's a remake and it's part 2, so it's like, what else? Why is that innovative? And then Metaphor, I don't know, I feel like maybe that one is for what it's doing narratively, perhaps, but it also seems very similar to its other contemporaries. So I don't know. Balatro is like the one that actually genuinely feels innovative, even if it's like, okay, deck builders have existed before and poker exists before. But that kind of is the one that comes up to me as like most creative, but I also think it might be more niche than some of these other games. Really, really tricky. Once again, it always comes down to the popularity contest element of it. And I'm just going to go with my heart here, actually. I'm going to go with Balatro, which would be so cool if Local Thunk, the developer, won this, because it's a solo developed game. It's him and then like the guy who made the music. So it's a 2-man team overall.
That's crazy.
It's like super duper impressive. And I don't know, it's also very innovative on like the visuals, like the effects and things like that as well. Like I just feel like it's a really, really genius game. And I'd love to see him win. And I don't know, I everything else I feel kind of weird giving it. Not that this is my pick personally. It just, none of them really stand out to me for this particular category. So I don't know. I might be regarding this later because of the popularity element, but I'm going to go with Balatro for today.
Ooh, just to keep things different, I think I'm going to go Elden Ring.
Oh, you dirty little bastard! How dare you? Asterisks next to that pick.
To spite Kirkland. Yeah, we can scoot into Game of the Year now, which, as I mentioned, is the exact same games. So Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, and Metaphor again. I don't know, Taylor, you picked Elden Ring last time. Do you think that's going to be the same case for Game of the Year, or do you think things are going to change up?
I think it's going to be the same. I'm going to stick with that as my vote.
Wow. Why do you think that
what?
one?
What did you say, Elden Ring?
Yeah.
Is it
I
Game
think
of the Year?
I think people are just hyped on it. And again, I have not played any of these titles, but I just feel like Elden Ring just has it lock, stock, and barrel. So
Lock, stock, and barrel.
sorry, Kirkland.
I fucking hope that's not the case. I'm gonna scream. They better rush the stage if that happens.
I think it would be
whoever's there.
I think it'd be a bit of a farce if that wins. I think that would not be a good look. Even if I've personally come around on it a bit, I think it's fine that it's in here. Personally, it's not that good for me. Like, it's good, but it's not Game of the Year good. It's not on that caliber, but I can definitely see the frustration. I think it would be really goofy if it won the Game of the Year award. Kirkland, you picked Astro for direction. But you said you're going to pick differently. So where are you going to go for your Game of the Year pick?
I am gonna pick differently. I feel like since we've started this cast, I've changed my mind on every game that's come up on my initial. I'm gonna throw it in the Fantasio zone. I'm gonna go Metaphor for my Game of the Year.
Ooh, okay.
It's just I feel like I just heard about this game like not that long ago, and it's just kind of been everywhere in my heads up display of my life. It's just it's popping up in different PlayStation, Steam. So it's
Nice.
just a lot of positive talk around it. And I know how popular Persona 5 is, or not even just Persona 5, like just Persona series in general. I feel like that one is like globally, like a lot of like the
True.
like compared to all of these, I feel like globally it's really big one. I mean, Final Fantasy
At least in Japan as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, no, I'm gonna throw that one into the mix.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really tricky for me. I do wonder how many outlets would have had an internal rule-ish of being like, Elden Ring is DLC, we're not going to put it in here. Clearly, it got enough love from enough outlets to even be a nominee, which means it has a chance at the win overall. But I'm going to say that that's going to be a detractor a little bit for it, where it's just going to have some outlets not even have it at all in their list. Final Fantasy, maybe. Metaphor, maybe. I feel like those two are going to split votes a little bit in terms of category. But once again, splitting votes doesn't necessarily matter for the jury who are submitting 5 picks. So we'll see. I don't think Black Myth has it. I was kind of surprised to see it in here at all, honestly. I thought Helldivers was going to be a Game of the Year contender. I'm kind of surprised Black Myth beat it out. But then I kind of remembered the global factor of this, and I feel like Black Myth is much bigger in other places in the world that we're not necessarily privy to. Balatro, I would love to see it win. I think that'd be so cool. But I don't think... I think just the popularity, once again, Game Awards is a popularity contest, and for that reason, I'm going to go with Astro Bot, because I just feel like it's a game that even if it's no outlet's Game of the Year, it's going to be in every outlet's top 5, just because it is such a fun, joyous game. Name a single person who plays that game who doesn't just have a fun time. Like, it is just I want to find that one star review. Just that one angry individual. I can't think of a single negative thing to say about it. Like, my only negative would be like, I want more harder levels, but I think that's just me wanting more content in general because I didn't want to put it down. You know, it's not even like, the game was too easy. It's just that I just want more to do in it, even though I just platinumed it. So I feel like a lot of people are going to feel that way. It's just such a freaking fun ass video game, and like, people love platformers. We don't think of them as like Game of the Year winners anymore, but people love platformers, and this is like one of the best. And I also find this funny because like I remember at the start of the year or like late last year, Sony was like, yeah, we don't really have any games coming out next year, so, you know, we'll see you the year after. And what they meant was, like, first-party games, but, like, you know, they didn't mention... Astro Bot wasn't announced at the time, but I find it funny that game can kind of be... Like, PlayStation can just say, we don't have anything coming out, and then they just have this game come out, which turns out to be one of the best games of the year, and, like, one of my favorite games, and maybe the Game of the Year winner overall, and I think it has a good shot at it. And I would love to see it. I mean, Balatro would be my preferred pick. I think that'd be so cool if that won. Mm-hmm. And it's personally, I prefer Balatro over Astro Bot, but they're both great. And I I would not like if Elden Ring won. I'm in your camp. I think for slightly different reasons. I just would not like to see that. But kind of an interesting weird crop of games and not an obvious front runner like we've had for some other years. So there you go. There are the nominees. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take one last break and then we will talk about a little predictions on some of these announcements. We will be right back. Whoa. You guys are so big on the camera now. We are back. I was thinking about Ash. We all pick like multiple predictions of what we think announcements are going to be, but I think kind of sided against that. Is there anything you guys are really hoping to see in terms of announcements at the Game Awards? Because of course that's kind of what it's more about. It's more about showing off things than awards, unfortunately. I mean, it's just kind of the way it goes. But anything you guys are really, really hoping to see here? A new trailer for something, or a developer on stage to tell us about a cool game?
I don't know if it counts as like an announcement, more so just like a follow-up, like something.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a new trailer, a new game. It could be a follow-up for a previous thing.
I think the big one for me would be something on the Wonder Woman title. That's
been rumored. I really hope we see that.
Yeah, like or GTA trailer that's coming before that, right? Like they're kind of doing their own thing.
Did they announce that?
Maybe it was a rumor. I saw like a random tweet where it's like this day GTA trailer's coming. I also just kind of assume Rockstar, like they just kind of
I don't think they're gonna put a trailer at the Game Awards. They don't need to. Like that costs a lot of money to get a trailer there, and if anything, I would think Keeley would want to pay them to get a trailer. I don't think he's gonna do that. Maybe he'd have to shell out a lot of money. I just think they don't need him. They can post it on YouTube. I mean, what the GTA 5 trailer they put out, or 6, I should say, is like the biggest video game trailer of all time or something in terms of numbers on YouTube. So they don't need the Game Awards. So I don't think we'll see that there.
Yeah, I think it would be Wonder Woman title. I would say I'm not even gonna think about an Elder Scrolls thing at all.
No, it's not happening.
Maybe another Witcher announcement or something. Like Witcher 4. That could be really exciting. I don't know.
I think we'd get something about the remake of 1 before 4 at this rate, maybe.
Okay. I don't know how credible it is. I just feel like I've been seeing some like murmurs and rumors about them like starting or working on the next.
It's in development
Witcher.
now. They announced that. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So like that could be a fun little, I don't know, hint to just get people really getting hooting and hollering. But the big one for me would be that Wonder Woman title. I just think the idea of what it is and when it first announced, and just thinking of how they're going to introduce like that, the Nemesis system from the Shadow of War game. So that one would really get my juices flowing. I feel like if we had like some nice combat gameplay of like seeing Wonder Woman just popping off, that would be really, really exciting. So yeah, that would be the big one for me. And in terms of like any other wild announcements, I feel like everything that's kind of already been announced is like the most exciting stuff for me. Like Death Stranding 2, obviously that's exciting that we're getting close to that. And then
that seems likely, right? Because of Kojima and Jeff Keighley being best buddies.
Oh, Jeff is going to be in the gameplay trailer, because he was in the first one, right?
He was in there. Yeah, I think that one's very likely, especially if that game is supposed to come out this year. We haven't got a trailer for it super recently. It's been like a bit cool on that front. So I think the time for that is ready to go. And I do think Sony, who don't have a ton of like first party games announced right now, like we don't really know what a lot of the big studios are working on. I think they want a couple things here, and at the very least that Death Stranding trailer I think will definitely be here. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then I would like to see like more Ghost of Yotai
some actual
stuff.
Gameplay or something.
So
would be cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if it's too soon for that. I don't really know what they're aiming for, because I don't think it's coming out next year, right? They didn't announce that. They just dropped the name, right?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think I was just under the assumption it was because of the timing of that little teaser,
right.
But I didn't really look too much further into it. So maybe like we get a date here. That would be cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah. I think I'm in the same boat. I really just want to see a big Sony thing because I feel like they've been holding back on a couple studios and what they've been working on. And so I want to see something like that, or like maybe an update for like Star Wars Eclipse, for example. It's been a long time that's just been waiting in the wings. Like that could be another big Sony thing there. Nintendo-wise, I don't think they're going to do much because I think they want to save all their big announcements for the Switch 2 announcement. And I think they're just going to do that on their own time with the Nintendo Direct in like January or February or something. So I don't really think Nintendo's going to have a big presence. Sony, I think, should. Xbox, I don't really know Taylor, is there anything that just kind of like is on the tip of our tongue for Xbox? Like, I guess
State of Decay 3. Just fucking drop something for that. I know it's not a big game, but maybe Gears 6. Or actually, no, it's Gears E-Day, Emergence Day. That's
E-Day,
something
yep.
we got a cinematic
or Doom
for.
Doom Dark Ages might be ready for a new trailer too.
That's right. So there's a few things there on the plate that they could drop and give us a little bit more information on.
I expect to see at least one big juicy Xbox trailer there. Of course, Game Pass logo everywhere, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you, Kirkland. I really want to see that Wonder Woman trailer. I'm just so curious about that game, and I hope it's been so long in the oven, and I hope when it comes out, it's looking nice and crisp. So that's I think maybe top pocket for me. Anything that you're hoping to see, Taylor?
I mean, I know it's not gonna happen, but I'd love to see Halo Wars 3. That would just be like that would be so great, so great. Yeah, I already said State of Decay 3. I would also take. Yeah, you said Eclipse, and I think that's a great pick. I would take a Fallen Order, like a Jedi Fallen Order 3, something on there, because we know there's a third one in the works.
Oh, is that announced? Actually, I didn't know that.
I
Cool.
believe it was announced. Yeah.
Sweet, good for them. I wasn't sure how big the sales were for the second one, but that's good for them.
They announced it back in February 2024.
Okay, that seems prime time then to get it like maybe not necessarily gameplay, but maybe like a little story sizzler of like, here's the setup, show off a villain or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah,
that could be good.
Something Star Wars.
Nice. Okay, well, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, we enlisted our friend Mr. GPT to give us some predictions. How did you do this, Taylor? Is it like a trailer format? Is it just a game description? How is this working out here?
So I did 5 predictions. I did 4 game announcements, and it's listed what the prediction is and then how they're going to announce it. And these are hilarious. And then I asked it to actually give me what it thinks is going to win Game of the Year as the 5th.
Oh, interesting. That's something I've always wondered about, because I feel like I always hear people say, "Oh, ChatGPT's info is like 4 years old or something," but like that's not true, right? Like it's pulling current information, or it can.
Well, and I try and check it too. So like I usually, to see if I can get it to be current, my first question was, do you know the annual Video Game Awards show? And it's like, yes, the annual Video Game Awards show, a major event with Jeff Keighley, the typical
of course,
they know Jeff.
So I do that to kind of set the tone, and then after that I'm like, okay, give me like your predictions for like 4 possible games that could be released during this time.
Okay,
whatever.
gotcha. Nice.
I did say mainline games, like big titles. I didn't do anything small scale.
No Balatro, no indie.
No
titles.
Balatro 2.
No.
All right, Taylor, take it away. However you want to do this, go ahead.
So I'll start with the announcement before the prediction. So the announcement, Xbox exclusive. Jeff Keighley is on stage, and suddenly the lights go dim. A massive holographic Halo ring encircles the stage.
Oh man!
Cortana's voice echoes through the venue, saying, "This isn't the end; it's just the beginning." A pelican drops from the ceiling via drone tech, and the trailer plays, revealing Master Chief in a sleek, upgraded armor design.
Okay.
This is Halo Ascendance, a new Halo game designed as a spiritual successor to Halo 3, focusing on a darker galaxy-wide conflict with heavy RPG and exploration elements, showcasing Master Chief.
You're talking to me there.
Yeah.
Halo 3 as my favorite. Like, let's forget the other stuff. Let's just go straight to Halo 3. All right.
Imagine being in the crad. It's like Jeff standing there. You know, it's amazing. They have like the hologram, like
drone pelican
just
starts coming.
I feel like Defoe looking up, the view.
Light is mine. Okay, so we got some RPG elements too. I'm into that.
Crazy.
Because Halo Infinite campaign, like, well, you're getting new equipment, but there's no like skill tree or anything, right, Taylor?
No, not that I know.
Yeah,
of.
okay, so that would be
Just
new
abilities.
for the series. Okay.
Yeah. So number 2, Nintendo Switch exclusive. Jeff Keighley starts talking about gaming legends, and then a giant warp pipe rises from the floor. Chris Pratt's Mario voice emerges, Chris Pratt emerges in a Mario hat to introduce a live orchestral performance of the game's new theme. A 3D animated Cappy zips around the venue in real-time AR, projecting the game's trailer onto the ceiling.
So sorry,
Super
the pipe
Mario.
though is a legit pipe. It's an
That's a
actual
legit
pipe, so it's not it's not a hologram. Okay,
No,
but the
that's
Cappy is okay.
Cappy is.
And I like that Chris Pratt. He's not wearing the suit. He's not wearing the overalls. Just a hat. He's just going bare minimum.
Just the hat.
They didn't pay him enough. He would have worn
Not
the
even
whole
maybe
suit,
doesn't even have a
but-
mustache. Just like clean shaven. Like, come on, buddy.
So this is Super Mario Odyssey 2, the long-awaited sequel that takes Mario and Cappy to brand new kingdoms, including a fully explorable Bowser land. This time, Luigi
Nice.
joins as a playable character with his own set of
Sweet.
Cap-related powers.
Ooh, okay.
It leans into throwbacks to Super Mario 64.
Well, now you're talking to me again. Halo 3, Mario 64. We're just talking about my top 10 favorite games of all time here. This is speaking to me. Okay, I'm into that. I like Luigi. I think that would be a good addition to that sequel. It would make sense.
Cool.
2 in the title. You finally get 2 characters in there. I like it. Bowser Land. Cool.
Bowser Land, yes. So number 3, PlayStation exclusive.
Here we go.
Jeff Keighley is casually chatting on stage when a sandstorm effect fills the venue. The camera
Wait, sorry. Casually chatting on
casually
stage?
chatting on stage.
Like to the microphone, or like he's just having a conversation with someone on the side? That's so weird.
I'm not sure.
We'll never know.
The camera zooms in on a mysterious desert setting with the audience hearing Kratos say, "The gods have spoken, but so will I." Suddenly, Christopher Judge appears on stage in a full Kratos cosplay, shouting, "Boy!" as the trailer debuts.
Oh my god.
God of War Twilight's Veil, a new chapter in the God of War franchise, picking up with Atreus exploring his destiny in new realms of mythological creatures, while Kratos wrestles with his past. This time, it's Egyptian mythology taking center stage, with
Ooh.
Anubis as the main antagonist.
Fuck.
Okay, I'm into that.
That's
I'm
pretty
into
cool,
that.
actually.
I love the snow setting, but like, okay, we did our 2 games there. Let's go somewhere new and see that sand. I feel like the snow tech could very easily be converted to sand tech. And the Atreus part, that makes a lot of sense. That from especially where Ragnarok leaves off, I feel like that makes sense. But once again, like the cosplay, I can't imagine Christopher Judge doing that. It's a pretty hefty cosplay for that man.
Just
to
painted
do.
white.
Yeah,
I guess that's kind of old Kratos. I don't know how he looks in the newer titles.
he's a little
'Cause
less.
he's like the ghost of Sparta in the old ones, where he's like literally painted white. So, it'd be
Well, isn't
interesting
it?
to-
It's like the ashes of his daughter or something, right? I think it's the
yeah,
white.
there's probably more than just paint, but
Yeah.
I don't see the ashes of his daughter on the.
He's a little more gray this time around, I feel like, but that's just classic Sony. It's dark and gritty, you know.
Yeah.
And prediction number 4, Nintendo Switch exclusive.
Ooh,
So Jeff
ton of
begins
exclusives.
he begins the segment with what seems like a generic underwater theme. Water starts pouring onto the stage, pooling at Jeff's feet.
Oh my
And
god!
Jeff says, "Wait, this wasn't in the script," he says, as a glowing Triforce symbol appears under the water. A diver emerges from a real pool that's appeared in the middle of the stage, holding a glowing Master Sword,
Where
which
did the
triggers the
diver come
trailer.
from? There was no water until now, and then there's also a
Started
diver in
pooling
the water.
The diver
Oh my
swam
God.
in.
The diver was there all the time. He was just waiting for the water.
The Legend of Zelda Dreams of the Depths, a follow-up to Tears of the Kingdom. This game
Okay.
explores underwater realms and the mysteries of Hyrule seas. Link gains new powers tied to the ancient marine technology, and the game introduces dynamic weather and underwater physics.
Okay, I don't love that. I mean, as
I
a
hate that.
like water levels are always people's least
Oh.
favorite. Like, I don't know if we want a whole game of that for Zelda. That sounds a bit much. That it's funny hearing that description. The first thing that came to my mind, Kirkland, is just like, oh, that just sounds like something that would be set up in Hitman, where there's a guy on stage, he has to give a presentation where water comes down, but then 47 has somehow electrified the water, or he put some piranhas in there. Or something.
scuba diver swimming in
He's the
water.
scuba diver, yeah, and
Oh,
he goes
yeah.
up, stabs Keely in the back of
That's
the
one of the endings for sure.
Oh my god, that would be so funny. Yeah.
But yeah, there you have it. Those are the 4 games that are going to be unveiled for sure.
Big
according to
stuff.
ChatGPT.
I like
So
the
I-
first 2 the most. I think Halo was my favorite.
Halo's my favorite, too.
performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
So I asked ChatGPT, what will win Game of the Year based on these following choices: Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, and Metaphor. And so ChatGPT was like, this is a stacked lineup of contenders, each representing excellence in different genres and experiences. And then it gave a brief analysis for each one of them. But its prediction, I'll say its runner-up was Final Fantasy Rebirth. It said that Rebirth could pull off a win if it nails its ambitious goals and resonates deeply with fans and critics alike. But its number 1 pick was Elden Ring Shadow of the
Whoa.
Erdtree. It says Elden
That's why
Ring
you
remains...
picked it, didn't you?
No,
You're
no,
going
no,
with
I
the GPT
swear.
pick.
It says Elden Ring remains a cultural juggernaut, and if the expansion hits the high bar set by the base game, it's most likely Game of the Year winner.
Yeah, interesting. That's what the robot thinks.
That's what the robot thinks, Kirkland.
What do you have? How it described Balatro. I'm curious if you still have that up.
Why it could win. As an indie darling, Balatro might bring fresh, innovative mechanics or a unique narrative twist that captivates critics. Indie success stories like Hades have proven Game of the Year voters love creative risk-taking. Why it might not win. It's going against some massive AAA titles, and smaller scale games often struggle to outshine them in the main category.
It's reasonable.
Honestly, well said. I can't deny that. Very good. I love that. That was very fun. Man, is it going to be right? That would be crazy if Elden Ring truly
I'm
took it
gonna be
home.
upset. I'm gonna be. I feel like that would be the worst one. Like, you know, we do these every year and they're fun to, you know, just having some bragging rights between you guys and whatnot. But like, never really been like hurt by picks or like overjoyed by picks. I don't know. I just feel like I don't have too much skin in the game. But
Yeah.
Elden Ring DLC, come on, Jeff, we gotta have a talk. This isn't okay. Shut
Yeah,
down
usually-
these shows.
Usually I don't have too much. Like, it doesn't really matter to me what ends up
Yeah.
winning. I really, really wanted Deathloop to win against It Takes Two in that year because it's like, this is kind of a weaker year. Like, if Deathloop or Arcane's ever
Yeah.
going to win it, this might be their chance, and they couldn't quite pull it out. But yeah, for the most part, it's like, yeah, whatever. Whatever wins. But cool. Any other thoughts on the Game Awards, boys? It's coming out, like I said, the 12th. We're going to be covering it, I presume, the Monday after on Sidequest because I think we're all pretty busy that night. That's when, like, both those movies come out, Lord of the Rings and Craven. So we're going to be busy that weekend. So we'll probably cover it on the regular Monday. But any final thoughts? Or are we all done here?
Got nothing.
Cool. Thank you guys for joining me. This was a nice, spicy 3-man cast, long one here. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Let us know what you think is going to win in these variety of categories and what you think about the Elden Ring inclusion in there, what announcements you want to see, all that good stuff. And we'll see you again next week for some Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.